Thank you. If I could get roll call, please.
Absolutely. District number 1, Vincent Ringhayden.
Present.
District number 2, Richard Way.
Present.
District number 3, Robert Scaliotti.
Present.
District number 4, Robert Gibson.
Present.
District number 5, Celeste Toledo Bocanegra.
Present.
And all commissioners are present.
Thank you. Do we have department announcements?
Good evening, Chair, fellow commissioners, members of the public. I'm just going to go over, we had one recent planning application submitted between our last meeting in October and today. It was for a conditional use permit. It's under County File PLN 240050. It's located over at 2650 San Juan Road. This is about almost 3 miles west of downtown Hollister. The project itself is for an independent recycling services. They're proposing to establish a medium volume construction demolition debris processing facility. And the operating hours will be between 7 and 5 p.m. and it will include 7 employees. The facility is going to mainly be used for recycling and waste diversion to reduce landfill use in San Benito County. It is still under review, and that is all I have with recent planning applications.
Thank you. Public comment? Is there any public comment that is under the purview of the Planning Commission but not on this evening's agenda?
Chair, I have no cards in chambers and I have no hands via Zoom.
Thank you. Then public comment is closed. Consent agenda. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes or any changes? Commissioner Way?
Yes, I noticed one error that I think needs to be corrected. Actually, a couple of I think typos and one actual error that needs to be fixed. In the minutes of the meeting from, I believe it was October the 16th, yes, on our page number 21, where we were voting on what to do with the findings that we were asked to return to the Board of Supervisors with regard to the development agreement for the Ag Center. The statement is made about 2/3 of the way down the page that Robert Scaliotti, Vice Chair of the Planning Commission, motioned to affirm the approval and or denial findings to include findings from September 18th and October 16th meetings and recommend the project to the Board of Supervisors. There's two problems with that statement, I believe. One is the motion was not about the project. It was about the development agreement. Okay, we made no recommendation one way or the other with regard to the project. The other issue is that the motion, the initial motion was a denial, and that stood because it was a 2-2 in the meeting before, and per Sean, it remained a denial. All we did was we added findings both in favor and in opposition and forwarded those findings to the board, and the findings were added on a 3-2 vote. So I would like to see the minutes reflect that, and what I would propose is that we change the wording so that instead of saying recommend the project, we say forward the findings on the development agreement. Forward the findings on the recommended denial of the development agreement to the Board of Supervisors, or words to that effect, if that's okay with the rest of us.
It's fine with me. Commissioner Toledo? Commissioner Scaliotti?
Fine.
Commissioner Ringhayden?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, and a typo on our page 28, it talks about acknowledging the certificate of posting for the September 11th Special Planning Commission meeting. It is actually about acknowledging the certificate of posting for the October 23rd meeting. A typo on our page 32 says the motion passed 1-2, should say the motion passed 3-2. And I think that might be the last issue with regard to the minutes. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the certificate of posting? And then we'll separately do a motion to continue the minutes until the next meeting so staff has time to review the tapes. Just so we get it crystal clear for the next
I
time.
will motion to adopt the certificate of posting.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Is there a motion to continue the adoption of the approval of the minutes until the December 18th meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. On to public hearing. Item 7.1. Staff recommends deferring action on county planning file PLN 240013 Botello conditional use permit and proceed to the next agenda item.
Good evening, staff. Victor Tafoya, Associate Planner with the County of San Benito. As just mentioned, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission take no action on this agenda item and proceed to the next agenda item.
Okay. We're gonna hear from the applicant. Since you presented, if you'd like to, and then we'll take public comment and then we'll proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, planning commissioners. When I submitted that application, different departments made recommendations for what they wanted to see. And I commented back to RMA on the two conditions that are absolutely, I cannot, won't do, absolutely won't do. And I really feel strongly that those conditions should have been withdrawn and prior to the hearing. Now, I missed it in the resolution in midst of my harvest and a few other things that was going on at the time, and I missed it. And I'm back here. I paid $3,500 for that mistake, to request that the Planning Commission waive those the two conditions that I'm disputing. Flint Road is a 18-foot wide road, and one of the conditions is I'm being asked to dedicate 30 feet from the center line. Well, that puts the dedication right on top of the wall of the commercial building, as well as 2 rows of apples and the front porch of the house. I don't see the necessity of such an ask, as well as other infrastructure that improvements on the property. The other condition I'm asking to be waived is the road improvement. It's a lane. Flint Road is a small road. I believe once Highway 156 is widened and open, it's to have little use. And the project, the CUP that was approved on September 18th, will have little to no impact on the rest of Flint Road. We don't have any impact now. This is a project that's, it's not a project, it's been there. That building's been there for 60 years. And it's always been commercial to begin with. And I'm just, would hope that you could direct staff to make the amendment tonight, and we could be done with this. You have a lot of other and more important business to tend to.
Okay, thank you. Victor? Is there any clarification of why you need a delay?
The applicant submitted a conditional use permit amendment. This was an adopted resolution, so that's why we're requiring that this be an amendment to the application. And we have to go through the process that requires a review of the application again and noticing to the freelance and bringing it back for you guys, the planning commission to decide.
So that will come back December 20th if we continue it? And if we don't, if we choose to hear it tonight, are you prepared?
It can't be, heard, tonight. We didn't bring the resolution, tonight. We can bring it back in December.
Okay, well, that took care of that. Is there any public comment on this item?
I do not have any public comment in chambers or via Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Public comment is closed. Back to the commission. Is there a motion to continue 7.1 until December 18th, 2024? Don't all rush in at once.
I make a motion, we continue until December
18th.
18th, 2024.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0 to continue. Thank you. 7.2, hold a public hearing to consider adopting a resolution for PLN 230015 to rezone a 5-acre property at Southside Road from agricultural productive to residential multiple, and to approve a minor subdivision of the property into 2.5-acre lots.
Right, good evening, Chair, Commissioners, members of the public. I'm Victor Tafoya, Associate Planner with the County of San Benito. Tonight I will be discussing PLN 230015 Kellogg Zone Change and Minor Subdivision located alongside Southside Road. Our discussion tonight will cover the project location, description, land use consistency, CEQA, and staff recommendation. The proposed project is located 5 miles southeast of downtown Hollister. The project seeks a zone change from agricultural productive to residential multiple. This aligns with the general plan's residential mix designation. The proposed project also involves the subdivision of an existing 5-acre parcel into 2 separate parcels. Parcel 1 will be 2.5 acres and will include access to an existing shared well. Parcel 2 will also be 2.5 acres and have shared access to the same well. It is important to note that no new construction is planned at this stage. Now let's take a look at the site plan. The plan highlights the location of the existing well, which will be shared by both parcels, and indicates the proposed property lines for the subdivision. It also features a proposed detention pond for water management purposes. Additionally, the plan includes an access easement to ensure both parcels have shared access to Southside Road. The image on the screen captures a close view of Parcel 1 at the project site west. The image on the screen captures a close view of Parcel 2 at the project site's east. This photo on the screen shows a view of the project site from Parcel 1 facing east towards Ridgemont. The photo on the screen shows a view of the project from Parcel 1 facing south alongside Southside Road. The photo on the screen shows a view of the project site from Parcel 1 facing west with Southside Road in the foreground and the Gablin Range in San Benito River Valley in the distance. The proposed change from agricultural productive to residential multiple aligns with the general plan's residential mixed land use in that it meets or fulfills general plan policy 4.1. The proposed zone change from agricultural productive to residential multiple supports housing stock diversity by facilitating a mix of residential type, ensuring options that cater to both socioeconomic and diversity in the region. General Plan Policy 4.2, the zone change would enable residential development in areas designated for growth, emphasizing proximity to existing or potential infrastructure and public services promoting sustainable growth. General Plan Policy 4.7, the project aligns with the cluster residential site layout principle, ensuring that future development incorporates natural features and creates buffers between residential and agricultural areas for a balanced transition. The proposed subdivision of the 5-acre parcel into 2.5-acre lots align with the general plan's objective for residential development, supporting General Plan Policy 4.1, the proposed subdivision complies with the RM zoning standards, ensuring housing diversity through its design, meeting county objectives for varied residential developments. General Plan Policy 4.2 emphasizes cluster residential layout that integrates natural features and buffered agricultural operations. The project achieves this by preserving mature trees and topography and maintaining a 50-foot buffer zone from any active agricultural operations as required by the condition of approval prior to issuance of a building permit. General Plan Policy 4.8 supports open space preservation. To buffer residential and agricultural uses, the project designates 20% of each parcel as non-buildable open space, ensuring compliance through conditions of approval that requires these areas to be recorded on the parcel map and deeds. Moreover, the project adheres to San Benito County Code Section 25.005 Residential District, residential multiple zoning designation, supporting a structure that aligns with zoning regulations and development standards. Development allows for one dwelling unit per 2.5 acres, along with accessory dwelling units. Expanding development beyond this would require expanding public water and sewer services. Any such expansions would require a review and approval by LAFCO to confirm its alignment with orderly development standards. I do want to emphasize that to ensure compliance with the general plan policies, this project has been conditioned to integrate natural features, buffer agricultural operations, and preserve open space by conditions of approval. An ISM&D was prepared for the project to ensure compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. The county conducted tribal notifications and consultations in accordance with AB 52, ensuring that local tribes were informed and they had the opportunity for input. Mitigation measures were developed based on detailed analysis and technical reports to address potential impacts. These measures effectively reduce impacts related to geology and soils, cultural resources, and tribal cultural resources to a less than significant level. The ISM&D was publicly noticed for a 30-day review period from September 6, 2024 to October 6, 2024, in compliance with CEQA requirements. During this period, the county received one comment from the State Water Resource Control Board. Condition 31 of the resolution addresses this comment, requiring compliance with the California State Resource Control Board construction stormwater general permit for projects disturbing more than 1 acre. The applicant must submit a waste discharge indemnification number or erosivity waiver to the Public Works Division prior to construction activities. Staff Staff respectfully recommends that the Planning Commission review the staff report and draft resolution, which includes findings and conditions of approval, hold a public hearing, and listen to any proponents or opponents of the proposed project. Adopt the resolution, including findings adopted in the CEQA initial mitigated negative declaration to approve the monitor subdivision parcel PLN 230015, subject to conditions outlined in the resolution. Recommend that the Planning Commission advise the Board of Supervisors to approve the proposed zone change. Please note that condition 40 in the resolution, which was added to the conditions of approval, specifies that the approval of this tentative parcel map is contingent on the formal adoption of the zone change by the Board of Supervisors. This means that the project shall not proceed until the zone change is officially enacted. I want to repeat that one more time. This means that the project shall not proceed until the zone change is fully, officially enacted. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions of staff before we go to the applicant?
Yes.
Commissioner Way?
Why is, condition 40 added?
Because if the zone change is not approved by the Board of Supervisors, the minor subdivision cannot occur.
No, I understand that's the effect of it, but I mean, what's the purpose of adding that condition?
To ensure staff has more, ensures that this project does not go through if the zone change, is not approved. And for clarity purposes.
Okay. All right, I guess I'll get more info when we get through the public hearing. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions before we go to the applicant? Seeing none, does the applicant or the representative have anything to say?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My name is Don Kellogg. My family has owned the property for about 25 years. And I've worked down here in Hollister for some time on real estate. I'm excited to be here. My wife and I are considering moving down here at some point in time, but we have no plans to build anything in the near future. I started working on this subdivision about 5 or 6 years ago. We drilled a well, and that was exciting for me to watch that. But anyway, I hope you can see to approve this, to make it consistent with the general plan. The general plan allows this, the zoning needs to be changed. Any questions?
Commissioners have any questions of the applicant at this time? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, there you are. Hi, Ann.
So I'm here on behalf of Mr. Kellogg. I have a few questions and comments. As he mentioned, he's put some time into doing this. You know, the well had to be drilled before he applied. The application actually went in March of 2023. When the county did their last general plan, this general plan for this area and actually several properties around it was changed, but the zoning was never updated to agree with the general plan, which put these properties in kind of a twilight zone, because on the one hand, subdividing would comply with the general plan, but it didn't comply with the zoning, and vice versa. So after some discussion with the county, there are not utilities here to support the RM type of zoning. It was agreed that 2.5 acres was a reasonable way to subdivide this property. So we went forward with that. But one question I have, Victor, you mentioned that the zone change would be added as condition 40. So the conditions I have that were published only go up to condition 38. Is there a condition 39?
There is a condition 40 that we added last year.
So, okay. Okay, because this is what I got off the Granicus website, which does not include a condition 39. I don't have a real issue with that, but I was unaware of it. So so then my main questions have to do with the road requirements. Condition 19 is asking for a dedication of a half of a 110-foot wide road, or possibly an 84. Neither of which seems appropriate for Southside Road, and this is gonna come up on another project later tonight. Currently, if you go down Southside Road, once you get to Riverview Estates, there by the county property, or it is still county property, but where planning used to be located, and now Riverview Estates has been built, the road, Southside Road, is only 60 feet wide. There is the potential, because the county owns the property across the street, that it could widen the road in that direction, but as of right now, everything south of Hospital Road is limited to 60 feet. This request is to dedicate to make Southwood Road either 110 or 84. And given the slopes uphill and downhill on either side of the road, I don't even think 84 is a realistic ask. We had shown dedicating 60 feet. If the county really wants 42 feet, I don't believe my client has an objection to that, but I'm just not sure how realistic that is, given the actual physical condition of Southside Road and the land around it. And the fact that you already have a choke point just north of it that will limit it to 60 foot in width. So my preference would be to change 19 to half of a 30,
Correct.
half of a 60-foot road.
Sorry, through the chair, she's referring to Public Works Division Condition 26, right-of-way dedication.
Oh, you are correct. I'm referring to 26. I apologize.
No problem.
I-
Just for
thank
clarity
you.
of the record.
Yeah, I apologize. So 26, I would prefer be changed to half of a 60-foot right-of-way. However, if the county wants half of an 84-foot right-of-way, again, my client does not have an opposition to that. I really don't think half of 110 is remotely realistic. So I would like you to discuss that and see what you think is appropriate. Having said that, 27 is the one following up, and then whatever 26 requires, 27's requiring road improvements along those lines. Right now, the pavement on Southside Road is about 22 feet wide, and I think half of an 84-foot road is, again, overkill for a 2-lot subdivision when Promontory did not do any of those on Southside Road. So I just have to put this in scale to what's going on Southside Road, and I don't think a 2-lot subdivision warrants condition number 27. And then and same with undergrounding and utilities on Southside Road. This is a 2-lot subdivision. I know that you have discussed some of the frontage improvement requirements for minor subdivision and made some recommendations at your last meeting. And I would like you to consider this in light of the recommendations you have going forward for minor subdivisions, and waive or defer condition 27 and condition 30 having to do with overhead, utilities as it applies to Southside Road. Within the subdivision, yes, we'll have underground utilities. That's a typical requirement. But that is most of my questions. But I did want to say one last thing. With the addition of condition 40, where it says the tentative map is not approved until the zone change is approved, then I would request that the date of approval of the tentative map reflect that. And I ask that because I had another project where the tentative map was approved in September, and the rezone was not approved until December, but the tentative map is held to the September timeline, which means he lost 4 months out of 2 years waiting for that rezone. So if condition 40 is really a condition of this map, I think then the tentative map date of approval needs to go along with that. That would be my other request. Do you have any questions for me? Because that was kind of a lot.
Commissioners, do you have any questions at this time?
No, just thank you for your definition of 40. I was still trying to get that one.
Okay.
Appreciate.
Thank you, Ann. Public comment? Is there any public comment on this item?
Okay, when I call your name, please approach the podium. You will have 3 minutes. Valerie Harmson.
Hi, good evening. I'm Valerie Harmson. I don't like going first, but I'll give it a try. I'm here tonight because I know there's going to be a subdivision talked about. And one of the ideas that I have about a subdivision is you don't subdivide unless you're going to build. And why would you bother to subdivide if you're not going to start building? And I think that I look at Measure A and how many people do not want any more housing in this area, you know, and I think it's your job is so important because of this, and what you decide, we live with, and what the Board of Supervisors decide, we live with, and we're living with too much already, and this person doesn't live here, I guess, but he wants to sometime move down here. That might be the case. I find it hard to believe that you want to subdivide, but you're not sure when you want to move down here or anything. He drilled a well, and that's great, except that we don't have tons of water in this county. And we have too much, you know, stress on 25, we have too much stress on Union, and Union's gonna get worse. And I just feel like you need to make really good decisions and really listen into your own heart that you live here. This is your county, and you need to respect the people in it and respect yourselves, because your kids live here, your families live here, and we're all gonna be paying a big price if we keep allowing these even little subdivisions popping up and taking over our county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maureen McCormick.
Hi, I'm Maureen McCormick. I live on 4986 Southside Road with my family. We have 2 homes there and a working organic farm. We've lived there for about over 25 years, and I just want to kind of state, and actually the lawyer, the person representing the individual who wants to subdivide kind of made our case, if you asked me, under condition 27, where she stated all the issues regarding the road, and that was really what I came to speak about. I think that the primary, there's a couple of things. First of all, if you subdivide this, there are a number of other parcels over there. You kind of have to let the camel's nose in, and then you're going to open this up to a lot of subdivision. It is zoned RM. That means there can be anywhere from 8 to 20 units on the properties that are subdivided. So that could result in hundreds of units on Southside Road. I've lived there a long time. We all know that there are always ongoing repairs that are necessary. We live with it all the time. We have landslides frequently on the road. In fact, a few years ago, the road was completely closed. I'm sure the engineers have decided that it's fixed, but it's hard to believe looking at the side of the road that we all live on. We have entire road closures. We have working farms. There's frequent tractor use on the road. Local bike clubs are on the road all the time. There's migrant housing residents. They're seen riding bikes, walking all hours of day and night. We have a substantial speeding problem on the road. There are wild animals, including deer, wild boar, all other kinds of animals and people. And there's limited to no way to improve this road to handle more traffic. You can't put in sidewalks, you can't put in wider lanes, you can't improve the landslide issue, you can't add bike lanes. Adding traffic is going to make this road even more dangerous to all of us who use it. We already have more traffic based on the promontory development near Ridgemark. It takes me longer to get out of our road, our little dirt road driveway, than it has and continues to be that way. We just don't have the infrastructure to handle this increase in population that rezoning is gonna represent. And again, it's Camel's Nose. We open this up, we're gonna open all the old ones up, and we're gonna end up with hundreds of units on it. So we have a lot of life, health, and safety issues to think about, and I hope that you consider the gravity of the situation as you pursue the change. I know it's in the general plan. That general plan is 10 years old. I would venture to say a lot of the people who were around don't live here anymore, either because they're moved or they're no longer with us. So I really hope that you make a prudent
Thank you.
decision to protect the lives.
Fallon Gregg.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name's Fallon Gregg. I'm a longtime resident of San Benito County. I'm here tonight to strongly urge you to reject the 5 acre along Southside Road being split into 2.5 parcels. There are many reasons to support rejecting this proposal. Southside Road has always been a country road. It was never designed or built for twice daily commuter traffic. The roads are subject to mudslides and flooding during the winter. Southside School was built as a country school. It would be severely impacted by future possible development along Southside Road. The 5 acre parcel is now zoned agricultural productive. It would mean more ag land going to grow houses instead of food, and you can't eat houses. Allowing this proposal will put a toe in the door for future potential rezoning of ag land for development. Southside Road is often used by cyclists, but the road is narrow and more traffic on it would be very hazardous to cyclists. Wildlife crossing the road would be impacted by increased traffic. Commuters would be impacted by increased traffic. And the quiet quality of country life would be severely compromised with the increased traffic. I was very impressed with the 4 to 5 commissioners rejected the John Smith landfill expansion. Many of you reported that you talked to people who lived in San Benito County, and they said they didn't want the landfill expansion. You listened to them, and you rejected the landfill. About 2 weeks ago, on November 5th, 55% of voters in San Benito County passed Measure A to slow the growth in San Benito County, to protect ag land, ranch, and open space lands. If you allow this project to go forward, you are sending a clear message to the residents of San Benito County. You have no respect for the majority vote. I strongly urge you to listen to the people again and reject this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carl Scow.
Good afternoon. I've put in prepared remarks to each of the supervisors, but I'd like to come up and oppose this split. I think it is a really poor venture that we're taking on. Opening this thing is ridiculous to move to an RM. Today we're talking about 2 houses with a couple of ADUs. Technically, when you go to an RM or to a multi-residential, you can have up to 100 houses on that property if it fits. So in talking with the planning department, they said, we don't have sewer up there. You can't have the amenities right now. Well, there are many acres around this that are also slated to be RM, up to about 125 acres, including our parcel. So we would be hurt by not approving this. And by looking at the county saying they do not have sewer, San Juan Oaks did not have sewer until they did. The Lee project did not have sewer until they did. So they're moving these sewer lines around to fill these things in. We have a potential in that neighborhood then to do over 100 acres, 125 acres at up to 80 to 100 properties per 5 acres. So we're looking at over 1,000, 2,000 potentially in that neighborhood. When I sat down and looked at the plat map that they were putting together for this for this zoning rechange, not particularly the one in question, but the whole overview. One family is basically spelled in here to take the majority of this. We're in the middle, and they had already asked me if I wanted to build apartments with them to do this. So something's going on. I'm sorry Mr. Kellogg's in the middle of this. He's a nice guy. There's only 3 5 acres and 3 large parcels included in this whole zoning, not the whole platform or plateau that we're talking about there. We're talking only a very few specific properties. I don't know how they picked those out to say these people can be winners to build a huge apartments and this and that, and the rest of the people in my neighborhood cannot. It's going to ruin the area there. That is a rural area out there. Everybody's bought into that 5 acres, and they've always said from the old hospital down south side will not be built out as multi-residentials. Then we saw 35 years on the south side estates on hold until they finally downgraded that and got access through Ridgemark. Southside Road is horrid. Tres Pinos Crossing floods, and we've been closed in on both ends before.
Thank you.
Mary Shaw Karan.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I believe that making this consistent with the general plan is a big mistake because I think the general plan is wrong. And I think that the EIR that was done for the general plan did not look at details like this. How can you? It's a general plan that's for a whole county. And I think that whoever was responsible for this, the supervisors and others, the planners, did not consider the fact that Southside Road really is not adequate to support a lot of traffic. So the fact that it's in the general plan zone to be residential multiple RM is really wrong. It's an agricultural productive area. I know people who have organic farms there. It's really great soil. It's by the San Benito River. It should never be zoned to this. And as some people, previous speakers have pointed out, the road is not adequate. You know, it would require a huge expense for the city and for the county to maintain this road. Once you make it residential multiple for this split, I think, as someone has already said, it's like the camel's nose. You're going to end up with a lot more. People will have this entitlement and they will want to make good on it because once you give the entitlement, people want to make the money. They'll sell it to someone who does. So the pressure will be on the county to allow a huge amount of development there. When your infrastructure is not adequate, this is something that we heard a lot during the Measure A campaign. People were telling me, why is this county approving projects when our infrastructure is inadequate? That is what's happening. You're allowing an entitlement when this road could never probably support hundreds or maybe thousands eventually homes on that area. So I think that you should not make this consistent, quote, and that's not a good excuse. I think that you should not just do something because it's in the general plan, because sometimes the general plan can be wrong. So I urge you to reject this subdivision because I think there is a huge risk of putting the county in jeopardy in the future of having to maintain a road which has many mudslides. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and through Zoom, Carly, you've been unmuted.
Hi, good evening. I'm against the proposed rezoning of 5 acres of county land on Southside Road to allow for the possible development of 100 homes per 5 acres, as opposed to a current allowance of 1 house per acre. We must consider the environmental risks. This area is prone to flooding during storms, which poses a significant danger to any potential future residents. Additionally, the land is susceptible to landslide.
Did we lose Carly?
Hello? Sorry about that.
Please
Can you hear me
continue.
now? I'm not sure where I left off.
We can hear you.
Okay, okay. Additionally, the land is susceptible to landslides, which can be deadly. Southside Road has been closed for an extended period of time because of landslides, making it very hard for residents to get in and out of their homes. Also, our local schools are already overcrowded, and the proposed rezoning will only exacerbate this issue. We urgently need a new high school to accommodate our growing population. The bond to build a new one was shot down once already by the voters, not to mention our already overcrowded middle schools and elementary schools. Once the land is rezoned, it opens up the floodgates to add thousands of homes in the future. The impact on our infrastructure cannot be ignored. Our sewer system is outdated and cannot handle the additional stress that new houses or apartments would impose. It's a fundamental issue of public health and safety. We need to update our sewer system before approving more zoning for additional houses. As you know, our roads are in extremely poor condition, and the county cannot afford to fix more damage to Southside Road due to potentially many more homes. We already have over 5,000 homes in the pipeline as it is, waiting to be built. Why do we need to rezone land for more houses right now? Lastly, this rezoning threatens precious agricultural land that is vital to our community and economy. Once this land is rezoned and developed, it cannot be reclaimed, and we risk losing a crucial part of our beautiful environment. The proposed rezoning opens the door to developments that could harm our community's safety, infrastructure, and character. I urge you to consider these significant factors and reject this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Jessica Holander?
If there is additional public comment in the audience, please bring your speaker card forward.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Wolander, and I'm a resident of San Benito County and the Environmental Associate for Greenfoot Hills, a nonprofit whose mission is to protect open space, farmland, and natural resources for the benefit of all. Greenfoot Hills has concerns about the proposed zoning change. The current proposal allows 1 unit per 2.5 acres due to the fact that there is no public water or sewer at the property. However, if the only goal is to build 1 house per 2.5 acres, why wouldn't the applicant be applying for a zone change to rural transitional, which would allow for that level of density? Residential multiple would allow up to 20 units per acre, and this location is not appropriate for that level of density. The staff report itself declares that this change facilitates future residential development with the new RM zoning, and says the intent of RM district is to allow for areas of multiple family dwellings in areas already developed to urban density, as well as having utility service to allow this density to continue. But this is not the case for this property. Similarly, the mitigated negative declaration is supposed to analyze what the zoning makes possible, not what is currently feasible. This MND would be adequate if the application was for a zoning change to rural transitional, but this does not analyze the impacts of the 20 residential units per acre that the rural multiple zoning makes possible. So any of its analysis of the impacts are inadequate. In addition, the staff report points out that this is kit fox habitat, but the MND does not. The loss of farmland is also concerning, and this increased density this far out from Hollister could easily lead to additional loss of farmland in the immediate area, not to mention strain on our resources and infrastructure. The MND does not seem to take any of this into account. The staff report does say that the project includes a condition of approval that ensures any potential expansion to the utility infrastructure will be evaluated to maintain alignment with county standards and general plan policies, allowing for the potential reassessment of development intensity if public utilities become accessible. But what exactly would be evaluated? And would this change be subject to CEQA? It seems like reassessment should not be a potential, but an absolute requirement. In addition, please consult with County Council about what rights approving the tentative parcel map could grant to the landowners and what rights the county might be waiving by doing so. And finally, if Measure A passes, and it looks like it has, this rezoning circumvents the will of the voters. For these reasons, Greenfoot Hills recommends you do not certify the mitigated negative declaration, do not approve the zone change from agriculture productive to residential mixed, and do not approve the tentative parcel map. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, back to in chambers, Julio Rodriguez.
Good evening, Planning Commission. I'm just here to say I oppose, granting this entitlement. We've seen this, you know, we see this in San Diego County history, and in Hollister, you know, once these entitlements are granted, you know, first off, with California state law, these entitlements have a lot of power. You know, we're gonna have the state kind of on our back if the applicant decides to sell, or the applicant gets the entitlement, sells the property to someone else. As you guys know, the development community has a lot of power right now when it comes to giving these entitlements. Secondly, yes, Measure A was passed. These are the kinds of projects that would come to a vote of the people because it is agricultural land. Secondly, or lastly, I would like to just emphasize just the impacts, you know, the urban sprawl, the VMT, the vehicle miles traveled, or just the impacts, you know, services out there. Obviously there's the road out there. There's just so much wrong with the project or the entitlement itself. Lastly, yes, I think Mr. Kellogg's probably a very nice guy. It's fortunate that, you know, we mismanaged to plan for our future. So thank you.
Thank you.
One more. Okay, Tony LeBou.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As most of you know me, and I think most of you do here, I've always been a huge advocate for property rights, and I never like to infringe on anybody's property rights. But when it came to my development, which was one single house on 127 acres, I was forced to jump through, I don't know, I don't even know what I had to jump through. It took almost a year to get a permit for one single house on 127 acres. Now, that being said, I'm 5 acre zoning, and I have 127 acres, and it was ridiculous. It took over a year to get a permit. And I'm sorry, Mr. Kellogg, if you're having to take a long time to get your development through, but realistically, if you're gonna do this kind of zoning for this small amount of area, then you should probably get this all the way down to Vineyard Estates. And because I'd like to be able to develop, I'll sell my property right now if you can put 1,000 homes on 8 acres or something like that, whatever that number is. But let's make it realistic for everybody. And let's make this zoning go all the way down to Vineyard Estates between Hospital Road all the way down there so that I could sell mine and I'm out of here. I'll make my $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million and go. But to do this just for this one little parcel or these few dedicated parcels, not fair. Shouldn't be doing that. The impact on our road is ridiculous. And Southside Road can't handle that. And potential for this to go into as many units as what Carl said over here shouldn't happen. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your vote.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going back to Zoom.
Okay. And if you please bring your cards forward now so that we don't keep bouncing back and forth. I'd like to move along with this public hearing.
Okay, Joe, you've been allowed to unmute yourself.
Okay, hi, I just want to say, funny thing, I just passed by the planning commission building right now, but I don't think I can make it for an in-person thing right now, but, I just want to say that I'm concerned about the once you guys zone for this, you know, for residential mix, given the amount of density that's involved, that could be put in there, I mean, once it's zoned, if I recall correctly, developers, you know, someone can develop that land. I mean, whether it's someone who owns it now or someone who owns it later, eventually someone somewhere along the way will have the land, they'll have the zoning, they can build. My problem with that is that Southside School is, you know, Southside School is a very small school. It's getting very crowded, and you know, I on a personal level, my mom's a teacher, and she got an inter-district transfer of 11 students, and that's all it took. I mean, she was very excited about the class she's going to get, and at the last minute they added like 11 students, and I mean, you could just see it every day on her face. It's hell. I don't know what 11 more students can do, but apparently it's a lot. And I worry that once you put in a lot of houses and those people start having families and stuff like that, you're going to see that on just about everybody. We're talking, I mean, let's just say 50 houses come in, like somewhere down the road, and half of them have kids. 25 kids. That's not too bad, but if they happen kind of like, if all the kids kind of happen right around the same 5-year stretch, that can have an impact on every teacher as they work their way up the chain. And that's only gonna get worse if you put in more houses and all those houses have kids too. It's the one school in the district. It's already crowded. If eventually somewhere along the way someone does build those houses, it's going to have an impact on the school that I can't even imagine. There's also the question of the fact that there's just Southside Road. It's a two-lane road, and it would be the ingress and egress for all those houses. That's a little bit concerning. I mean, if I were to make a recommendation, I mean, far be it for me to do that, but if I were to, just from a layperson's standpoint, if you're going to pass this ordinance, pass this zoning, I'd like you guys to push it off for a little bit and maybe draft up a resolution to tell the Board of Supervisors that to make the developer pay for an expansion of Southside School. Because that's going to need to happen. You need to expand Southside School if you're going to put in more houses, or if you're even going to plan for the possibility of putting in more houses. That's all I have to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, and moving back over to the chambers, and I apologize in advance, Jerry Menzer?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, member of the commission. I'm Jerry Munzer, former county supervisor for District 4 of this district. I was on the Board of Supervisors when the general plan was passed. I not only supported the Knowles and the changes in the general plan, but I pushed for it. I did so because of the caveat that staff at the time assured us that any zone change would have to go through the process. Nothing could be changed without going through the full process. With the passage of Measure A, that is now part of the process, and I don't think anything should be changed at this point without taking in Measure A and its ramifications. Thank you.
Thank you.
Victoria Montoya?
Good evening. My name is Victoria Montoya, and I'm just a regular citizen that wants to put the 2 cents. And as I can see it, if you're a bigger developer with money, you get it right away. Like this man that just said I had more land, and took me longer. So I see the difference between where the money is, and I think it's right what everybody has said. That area where that development is going to be is not fitted for people to live in. More than 10 houses if you're lucky. I think the development should be farther this way. And again, Proposition 8 told everybody how most of us felt. So I think we should respect. And I'm sorry that this man with the 5 acres land might not get it, because it doesn't seem fair that the other man that came with bigger land didn't get it. So that is the difference, and there's a lot of needs in here that need to be taken care of, and the voters never get what we want.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment?
One more, 2 more. Russ Clay?
My name is Russ Clay. I live on 5471 Southside Road, which, if you don't know that address, is the old Side School. It took me 2.5 years to get the permit to make that into a home. I took a piece of crap building, and I made it into a wonderful home and no eyesight. I followed all the regulations of keeping it like it was. I don't feel it's right. Somebody should come in here and buy get this land split. Not even a resident here. I've been a resident here since 1981. I've lived in town. It took me 3.5 years to convert that school, and another 2 years to get it after that to get it approved. I just do not think this is fair. The road is like the Fremont drag strip, if anybody's that old, okay? That was a drag strip in Fremont, okay? And the people run down that road 100 miles an hour. It's amazing. These young kids and these trucks, everything else. And the other thing is that road is narrow, and there's bicycles constantly on that road. I don't think this is fair. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Annette Perez, and then I have one more after that.
Hello, Commissioners. So I just want to talk as a grandparent who actually have dropped their grandkids off on that road on Southside. It's very dangerous. There's no place for you to drive in once they're already filled with students and parents dropping off their kids. That road is tiny and dangerous and already backs up onto Southside. There's no place for us to go. We try to get off the road, but sometimes we can't. So I don't think that this is a good idea to allow this subdivision that Southside is already has too much traffic on it already, and with Promontory it's going to bring more traffic. In addition, I also use that road as a bike rider, and it is very dangerous, and there is no place for us to go, and I do not think that there needs to be more traffic and approve this subdivision to allow more housing. I think you will open Pandora's box, so I ask that you do not approve this subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last comment. Ann Hall, please approach the podium.
If there's any additional comment cards, please bring them forward now.
Thank you for the opportunity to come up and maybe just clarify a few things. I was a little surprised by the reaction. This seems kind of like using a cannon to kill a fly in this case. I'd like to remind everyone this is a subdivision of 5 acres into 2 pieces of 2.5 acres each. And there's been a lot of extrapolation of what this could be, what this might be, what this Mr. Kellogg's a nice guy, Mr. Kellogg's an evil developer, he's not from here, although he said when he got up here this is family property that has been in his family. Some people don't like it because their project didn't get approved. There's a lot of noise, but the reality is anybody doing anything with their property must comply with the rules in place at the time they make an application. And 2 years ago when he started it, these were the rules he was dealt. There was a question about why didn't we change the rezone to RT instead of RM? Because that's what the general plan is, okay? So his choice was to comply with the rules in place, and it's taken us this long to get here. But again, sewer is 20 feet above him at Ridgemark. The likelihood of sewer, someday, maybe, but it's on septic right now. It's limited to 2.5 acres. So he's doing what he is allowed to do with his property to the best he can under the rules that are currently in place in the county. And ultimately, Measure A controls changes to the general plan. This is not a change to the general plan. This is an attempt to do what he can with his property, which he is required to do the rezoning of his 5 acres to comply with the current general plan. So that's my comment.
Thank you.
We have no more public comment in chambers or via Zoom.
Thank you. Public comment is closed. Back to the commission. Before I go to comments and questions from the commission, I just want to be on the record that I do live within 1,000 feet of that property. However, I have no ownership, and that is why I'm not recusing myself. Are there any comments or questions from the commission? Commissioner Way? You always have some good ones.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I am concerned with the issue of fairness. It does strike me that in one of our recent meetings, and it wasn't the very most recent one, but fairly recently, we addressed a similar request to subdivide a property, the Segovia property in Aromas, a 5 acre going to 2.5 acre parcels, and we denied that one. And that one did not involve any rezoning. and it did not have any of the concomitant issues that this one would have had, or would have, I should say. So, yeah, this does kind of trouble me from that aspect alone, as well as some of the issues that other people have brought up. And although it is true, I believe the applicant that he has no plans to construct anything at this time and can't, based upon the current infrastructure, it does concern me that certainly the property could be sold, and certainly, you know, as other people have pointed out, there is no sewer until there is, and infrastructure development does occur. So, yeah, that's my only commentary.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Toledo?
And I have a few questions. Thank you, Anne.
Speaking as the engineer, Ann Hall.
So I just want to emphasize again, I know you mentioned in your comment, Mr. Kellogg is not a developer, right? He's just a regular citizen who is coming from another town and possibly moving into our town?
I would like to have him answer his intent, whether he wants to
Okay, great.
move or not.
If
But he is not make a livelihood as a developer, no.
Okay, so, and that's, I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't a developer wanting to come in and be the big bad wolf and, start building all these homes in a small, area of, land, right?
That's not my understanding, but regardless of my understanding, anytime you subdivide, everyone is correct, you can sell it, but this will still be 2.5 acre pieces. Anyone who wanted to do anything more intense with that would have to turn around and come back for permission to do so. So this subdivision, whether he keeps it, which is my understanding, he plans to move down here,
Okay.
or he sells it, will still be 2.5 acre pieces.
So, for example, let's say, would an intent be that he may keep it and want, because he does want to move into the property, would he want to build one home for himself and his family?
He would, I believe his intent would be to build one home on each piece.
Okay.
Because they would be two separate pieces. But again, my understanding is that it is for him and his family of one of the pieces. And
Right.
the other one is to sell, probably for someone else to build a home on. But again, if anybody wanted anything more intense, they have to come back here and get permission to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that clarification.
Good for now? Okay, Commissioner Ringhaden?
One of my questions is, could this be divided without having a land designation change? And the second part of that, under residential multiple RM, how many homes can be built on an acre?
So for the first question, it cannot be subdivided given its current zoning designation. It's agricultural productive. The minimum parcel size is 5 acres. That's why they're applying for a rezone to give them the possibility to subdivide that parcel into 2.5 acres. And your second question was?
My second question was,
density.
Under residential multiple RM, how many homes can be built on an acre?
On 1 acre, they can build up to 50, on RM zoning designation, they could build up to 50 dwelling units per parcel. So that would mean a total of 100 dwelling units for both parcels. With sewer and with water and sewer connection, let me just emphasize that. With water and sewer connection, given its current infrastructure, there's no water and sewer connection, so they are limited to 1 residence per on each parcel with 1 ADU.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all I got for
now. Commissioner Scagliotti?
Yeah, I have one question, and that's about the speaker, Mr. Scow. You said something that cued my interest about people out there in that area willing to develop. There's a big plan. What made you say that? I mean, what made you?
Can you please
You
come
have a
up?
map that I don't have, and I saw you with that.
Well, but it doesn't pertain to this project, so we can't really
Okay, I'll just, that's all
go
I had to ask.
outside of this project that far. Yeah, sorry about that, but we'd be opening up a can of worms that we can't open. Okay, so we heard a lot of public comment, surprisingly for a project this size. We have a half-full gallery, which is rare, but we did hear a lot of things that are concerning. Circulation, we don't have the sewer and water. The school is probably maxed out. The general plan is not perfect. We've found that out November 5th. When we've known there have been issues before, but I think everyone that has any involvement with land use planning would suggest that putting a lot of density down in the valley doesn't make sense because the road is subject to not only landslides, but then on the Trespino side at the low water crossing during winter, when we're blessed with rain, that is closed because of the river. So that leaves you with one point of access, and if there's an emergency, mass evacuation, and you have the river flowing on one side, and you have another landslide on the other side because those hills are prone to slippage, it puts us in a bad position. And I think the RM going below the top of the bluff wasn't well thought out. And I think we need to take a look at that. So with everything that's been said, I do not support the density going below 5 acres. I don't even like 5 acres, but the 2.5 is definitely not acceptable in that area. The roads are crumbling, and unfortunately, a large development isn't doing much to fix that. So it's up to the county, and as we know, the county doesn't have the money to probably rebuild that stretch of road, at least in my lifetime. So I am not in support of going forward with this application. For all those reasons, is there a motion on the table to bring this back for findings, with findings for denial?
I wanna make a motion that we bring this back for findings of denial. And all the things that he said, and then some. I want it ironclad for denial. We don't need any more 2.5 acre parcels in that area.
Before we get a second, did you have anything? No? Okay. And that will be for the December 18th meeting, 2024.
Through the chair, bringing back findings for denial in relationship to the general plan circulation element, roadways, addressing that, those policies, addressing general plan, public facilities and services, water and wastewater, policies addressing general plan, natural and cultural resources, water resources, waterways, findings addressing health and safety, seismic, geologic, findings, and possibly, schools, is what I heard, and,
That's correct, and thank you for summarizing that, and glad that you have the degrees. We don't, not in planning anyway. So we have a motion on the table and
Second.
Okay, can we get a roll call vote, please?
absolutely, Vincent Ringhayden, District 1.
In denial.
So that's a
so
yes.
that's a yes.
Yes
Okay.
for denial.
Yes.
Richard Way, District 2.
Yes for denial.
Yes for denial. Robert Scaliotti, District 3.
Yes for denial.
Okay. Robert Gibson, District 4.
Yes.
And Celeste Toledo Bocanegra, District 5.
No.
No. Okay, so that is a 4-1 in favor of denial and bringing back denial findings December 18th.
Correct. Thank you. Item 7.3, hold a public hearing to consider adopting a resolution to approve PLN 230033, a tentative map subdividing an existing 115.87 acre parcel into 3 separate parcels of 15, 15.11, and 84.03 with a 1.73 acre road dedication. The project is located at 859 Cowden Road, approximately 4.5 miles southeast of downtown Hollister, within the unincorporated San Benito County.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Jonathan Olivas, Associate Planner with San Benito County, and this evening I will be presenting PLN 230033, minor subdivision at 859 Cowden Road. Our discussion tonight is going to cover project location, project description, CEQA, land use consistency, and staff recommendations. The site is approximately 4.5 miles south of downtown Hollister, about 1 mile to the southeast of the intersection of Cowden Road and Hospital Road, and the project is located in a rural area surrounded by mostly agricultural land uses with some rural housing in the vicinity. The project proposes to subdivide an existing 115.87 acre parcel into 3 separate parcels, each measuring 15 acres, 15.11 acres, and 84.03 acres, respectively, with a 1.73 acre road dedication. Parcel 1 is undeveloped agricultural land. Parcel 2 has 1 existing residence, 1 agricultural accessory structure, and 2 wells, 1 for agricultural water and 1 for domestic water, and is otherwise undeveloped agricultural land. Parcel 3 has 1 existing domestic well for use by both Parcel 1 and 3, and is otherwise undeveloped agricultural land. This project proposes no construction at this time, and it is also worth noting that this subdivision changes very little about what entitlements would be allowed, as the zoning already allows nearly the same degree of use without the subdivision. The image on screen shows a close-up of Parcel 1, 2, and part of 3, and shows the existing residence on Parcel 2, the location of the domestic well for Parcel 1 and 3, and the domestic well for Parcel 2, the agricultural well located on Parcel 2, and the agricultural accessory structure. This is the project site facing north towards Hollister from the Parcel 2, with Hospital Road just beyond the trees in the distance. This is the project site facing south towards Tres Pinos from Parcel 2 along the end of Cowden Road. The project site facing east towards the San Benito River from Parcel 2. This is the project site towards the west, towards Hollister Hills from Parcel 2 with Sally Flat Road just beyond the ridge. The purpose underlying the A general plan designation is to uphold agricultural productivity, particularly on prime farmland, encompassing various productive land types such as crops, vineyards, and grazing areas. This designation permits agricultural support uses, essential facilities, and 1 primary residential unit per lot, all in aid of preserving agricultural viability. The intent of the AP zoning designation is to facilitate diverse agricultural activities as articulated in the general plan, which includes supporting agricultural related activities like vineyards, wineries, and associated uses. Additionally, it allows for limited low density residential development while prioritizing the preservation of prime farmland. The project is consistent with both of these designations. Some general plan policies of note that this project is consistent with are the General Plan Policy LU 3.2, Agricultural Integrity and Flexibility. This policy directs the county to protect the integrity of existing agricultural resources and provide both flexibility and economic viability for farming and ranching operations. The project proposes large lots of 84.03 acres, 15.11 acres, and 15 acres, respectively, which still allow for the existing agricultural operations to continue. The site would remain commercially viable for the existing agricultural operations, in addition to retaining sufficient lot area to be eligible for becoming agricultural preserves under San Benito County Code, Chapter 19.01, which sets minimum lot area standards for parcels to receive property tax deductions in exchange for agricultural productivity in accordance with the State of California Williamson Act. As stated earlier, this proposal primarily revolves around delineating new property boundaries and does not include plans for new construction. The current zoning regulations already allow for nearly the same level of land use as what would occur with or without the subdivision. The project qualifies for an exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act based on the state CEQA guidelines, section 15061. It assures that the proposed subdivision will not significantly impact the environment, no ground disturbance or construction activities are proposed, and the project will not disrupt ecologically sensitive areas. The existing zoning regulations already permit similar land use activities. The project further qualifies for a CEQA Class 1 categorical exemption, State CEQA Guidelines 15301, as it involves maintenance, repair, or minor alteration of existing infrastructure without expanding current use. Additionally, the project qualifies for a Class 4 categorical exemption, Section 15304, as required improvements will occur on slopes less than 10% with no impact on trees, fault zones, or protected wetlands. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the staff report, review the attached draft resolution, including findings and conditions of approval, receive public comment, adopt the resolution, including findings to approve minor subdivision parcel map PLN 230033, subject to the conditions of approval found in the resolution. Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Does the commission have any questions of the staff before we hear from the applicant or the representative? Seeing none, is the applicant or the representative here? Good evening.
I'm here on behalf of the applicant. This subdivision is a result of estate planning. The intent is, the house that is there has a family member. The family member wants to stay in the house. The majority of the property is agricultural. That would allow the house to go to the family member as sole ownership and the rest of the property to stay in ag as part of a family, property. So the intent here was to put the house on its own piece of property and the rest of it's ag, although you can see if you look at the map, there's a pretty distinct difference between two portions of the ag. One is low, closer to the river, the other one is kind of up a hill and slightly smaller. So that's the 15-acre, parcel 1. So again, my only question has to do with condition 28 about road improvements. This is at the end of Cowden Road, the Leonardini property. The only thing beyond that is the rec property and Sally Platt. Improvements here would seem to be not serving the public because no one goes down this road except for the guys going to Sally Platt Reservoir. So we are asking for a deferred improvement agreement on the road improvements, which are condition 28. We have no objection to the dedication or any of the other conditions that staff has put forward.
Undergrounding utilities?
I do have an objection to underground utilities, yes. But if 28 is deferred, my comment here was that eliminates condition 31, but it would be clearer to say both of them.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for the applicant's representative? No? Okay. On to public comment. If you have any public comment, please bring your speaker cards forward now.
I currently have none, so I'm going to wait. Seth Capron, everyone.
Please bring them forward now. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Chairman Gibson and Commission. I think we're ill-advised to do subdivisions on agricultural property like this. When it's said that no construction is planned, that's kind of meaningless. The reason for creating more lots is to allow more construction in the future. And we're talking about having one family member stay in the house and continuing family farming on the property. So there's, I don't really understand why there's even a need for creating more parcels given what was presented tonight. I think that if we want to preserve ag land, we should not be creating 15-acre parcels on it, which in the long run is not going to foster the continued agricultural use of the land. Thank you.
Thank you.
Valerie Harmson.
Any additional public comment? Please bring your cards forward now. Do we have anything on Zoom? Okay.
Well, if you haven't guessed, I'm opposing this, probably for the same reason. Why are we subdividing this property? It looks like, yeah, this person's going to stay there, but he's also going to sell off the rest of the property. And I don't know that for a fact, but it sounds that way to me. These crazy subdivisions that are happening all of a sudden, because I believe Proposition A had a lot to do with it. Who's going to benefit from this? How many of us are going to really benefit from subdividing this property into two, 15-acre lots and keeping 84 acres? So I guess he's planning on working that 84 acres, but the other 15 acres on each side, it doesn't make sense you know, everyone knows that it doesn't make sense that this person is wanting to do this, other than, you know, sell off to a developer or someone else, and, the only people that are really going to be affected are the people in our county. And like I said before, our roads, these are such big impacts with our schools and our, you know, stores and, you know, our community. When we allow these things to happen, we allow a lot more people to come in, and we don't have the ability to live peacefully and comfortably when we allow this to happen. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Fallon Gregg.
Good evening again. I don't have a prepared statement, but I would just like to strongly recommend that you reject this proposal also, because once again, once you subdivide, it may not be the intent right now to sell and develop, but it ultimately becomes that. And San Benito County is desperate to slow growth down. We need to catch up with the infrastructure. We need to catch up with the sewer. We need to catch up with the water. We just can't continue to build. It just isn't going to work. And we can't build our way out of not having money. It puts stress on the schools. It puts stress on the fire department, the police department, the social services, the commuters. Thank God I don't commute. I'm retired, and I was fortunate to spend my entire career teaching in Hollister. But I just feel for commuters who are trying to get out of Hollister and have such a hard time. So for so many reasons, let's just give San Benito County a chance to catch up with itself, and let's not build anymore. That's what Measure A was all about. That's what the voters voted for. So please honor that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carl Scow.
If you have comment cards, please bring them forward now.
Well, let's see how everybody likes these remarks. Being a farming family and holding a piece of real estate is really hard. I would have to say I'm in favor of this family's planning for future generations. It is really hard to hold on to a piece of property. They're not asking to do anything other than take that property and put it into different portions. At that time, you have to come forwards. It's zoned for single. At this time, it is in compliance with what our county calls for, and sometimes it is next to impossible for a family to hold a farm, and they need to split off. They need to sell a section or farm it from somebody else. And even though I am not in favor of sprawling growth, splitting a family farm into a fairly large parcels allows someone else to farm a smaller section. And that's all I can say about it. It does comply apparently, and I hope you put the conditions on it that are necessary for doing this. And when the next people come to build on that 87 acres or 15 acres, they will have their own conditions. But I do believe it complies.
Thank you.
I have no more public comment cards in chambers. I'm going to give anyone 30 seconds. Okay.
See none.
None via Zoom as well.
Okay, thank you. Public comment is closed. Back to the commission. Commissioner Ringhaden, do you have any comments, questions, concerns?
So I guess I wanted to make, this doesn't change the land designation, it's still agricultural.
Correct. This is essentially what's already allowed as is. It's just changing some lot lines.
Just the lines are changing.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scagliotti.
Mr. Ringhaden answered my questions. I was gonna ask the representative of the applicant. They're not doing any zone change, so yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Commissioner Way.
That was exactly my concern as well.
Okay. While we're waiting for Commissioner Toledo, I would agree with changing the language of condition 28 regarding frontage improvements prior to a building permit being issued on any one of those parcels. I would change that language and just say, rather than recordation of the parcel map, I would say prior to a building permit being issued, comma, then the rest of it. for so for paragraph A, I guess, it says full 28 because of the number of parcels. I think it would be safe to reduce that to half of the road from the center line. That also, we could strike condition 31. However, and this is where we might run into some problems, I would like to add a condition that further subdivision of any of those parcels triggers the full width of the road improvements on both Cowden and Sally Flat Road. So if we want to get into the development game, you will fix the infrastructure. And I don't know if Ann probably can't agree to that, so we're gonna have to continue this until December 18th, I'm assuming, if that's what the will of the commission is. Those are my thoughts, and then we're gonna go to Commissioner Toledo. Ann, do you have any comment? Yes.
So just to be clear, you wanna add that if any one of the three is further subdivided, that it would trigger Sally Flat and Cowden the full width?
Full width. Kind of an incentive.
I don't believe it's the intent of the current owner to subdivide. But since they're not here, I don't wanna fully make that decision on their behalf, so if we can get your feedback and continue it, I'll talk to them in the meantime.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Toledo, did you have any comments, questions, concerns?
I'm okay with the continuance.
Okay, will someone make a motion with the verbiage that I mentioned, and then we can continue this until December 18th, 2024?
I'll make a motion with the verbiage that you mentioned.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those, let's do a roll call. Let's change things up.
Okay. District 1, Vincent Ringhayden.
For continuance?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, District 2, Richard Way.
Yes.
And District 3, Robert Scagliotti.
Yes.
And District 4, Robert Gibson.
Yes.
And District 5, Celeste Toledo Bocanegra.
Yes.
Yes, okay, that's a 5-1 to continue.
Okay, thank you. 5-0, you mean? Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, next item on the docket. Where are we? 7.4, hold a public hearing to consider adopting a resolution to approve PLN 240041 tentative map subdividing an existing 33.27 acre parcel into two separate parcels of 21.75 and 10.54 with a .98 road dedication.
All right. Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Reck, Associate Planner with the County of San Benito. This evening, I will be presenting PLN 240041, a minor subdivision at 4820, 4821 Southside Road. Our discussion tonight will cover the project location, description, CEQA, land use consistency, and staff recommendations. So as you can see, well, maybe not see, but as is intended for you to see, this site is approximately 5 miles southeast of downtown Hollister, about 1 mile to the southeast of the intersection of Union Road and Southside Road. The project is located in a rural area surrounded by mostly agricultural land uses with some rural housing in the vicinity. So the project proposes to subdivide an existing 33.27 acre parcel into two separate parcels, each measuring 21.75 acres and 10.54 acres respectively, with a 0.9 acre road dedication. Parcel 1 has the existing residence, existing well for both parcel 1 and 2, and the existing septic system. Parcel 2 is undeveloped agricultural land. This project proposes no construction at this time. It is also worth noting that the subdivision changes very little about what entitlements would be allowed in this zoning, as the zoning already allows nearly the same degree of use without a subdivision. So the image on the screen shows a close-up of the project site and the location of the existing residence, accessory structure, and well for both parcels 1 and 2. Notice that the road forms a natural boundary between the lot. This subdivision would create the official boundary and establish both as legal parcels, but the lot is currently split by Southside Road. So in this photo, you'll see the project site facing north towards Promontory from parcel 1. with Southside Road just beyond those trees. The west edge of Southside Road and the terrace on which it runs is to the right of this view, just out of frame. And so in this image, you see the project site facing south towards the Southside School from parcel 1, with the main access for 4820 Southside off Southside Road in the foreground. In this image, you can see the project site facing east towards Ridgemark from parcel 2 alongside the intersection of Vienna Way and Southside Road. And here's the project site facing west towards the San Benito River, just beyond the trees from the perspective of parcel 1, below the terrace which Southside Road runs atop. And so, with regard to the general plan and land use consistency, the property has dual general plan designations: residential, mixed, and agriculture. The parcel to the west is zoned agriculture and the parcel to the east is zoned RM. Under the RM designation, the focus is on supporting unincorporated urban areas equipped with existing infrastructure, encouraging residential development in village-like setting with limited commercial uses to serve the community. And conversely, the A designation emphasizes preserving agricultural productivity, particularly on prime farmland, while allowing for agricultural support facilities and 1 residential unit per lot. So zoning. The intent of AP zoning designation is to facilitate diverse agricultural activities as articulated in the general plan, which includes supporting agriculturally related activities like vineyards, wineries, and other associated uses. Additionally, it allows for limited, low-density residential development while prioritizing the preservation of prime farmland. So this project is consistent with both general plan and land use designations. Some general plan policies of note that this project aligns with are General Plan Policy LU 3.12 and LU 4.1, promote agricultural viability and diverse housing options. While the parcel currently contains 1 residence, subdivision would allow for additional housing and ADUs, supporting housing diversity goals. So although this parcel is too small for large-scale agriculture, Policy LU 3.12 ensures viability for smaller scale agricultural uses. Future development will be subject to county review and guided by countywide planning zoning ordinances in the absence of a specific plan. So as stated earlier, this proposal primarily revolves around delineating new property boundaries and does not include plans for new construction. The current zoning regulations already allow for nearly the same level of land use as what would occur with or without this subdivision. And with regard to CEQA, this project qualifies for an exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act based on the state CEQA guidelines section 15061. It assures that the proposed subdivision will not significantly impact the environment. No ground disturbance or construction activities are proposed, and the project will not disrupt ecologically sensitive areas. The existing zoning regulations already permit similar land use activities. So this project further qualifies for CEQA Class 1 categorical exemption 15301, as it involves maintenance, repair, or minor alteration of existing infrastructure without expanding current use. Additionally, the project qualifies for the Class 4 categorical exemption, 15304, as required improvements will occur on slopes less than 10% with no impact on trees, fault zones, or protected wetlands. And so staff recommend that the Planning Commission review the staff report, review the attached draft resolution, including findings and the conditions of approval, receive public comment, and adopt the resolution, including findings to approve minor subdivision, parcel map PLN 240041, subject to the conditions of approval found in the resolution.
Thank you. That was expeditious. Much appreciated. Do the commissioners have any comments or questions of staff before we hear from the applicant and or their representative? Commissioner Scagliotti.
Question, that R&M, that's the exact same thing as the prior applicant had, right?
So this isn't a zone change. The other half of the parcel that's close to Promontory and Ridgemark is already zoned RM, and the parcel towards the west is zoned agriculture. In the general plan. Thank you, sorry. Not zoning, general plan.
Okay, so they're not looking for a zone change?
No. They're just looking to delineate the boundaries of the parcel as a natural boundary already exists, that is Southside Road.
Like the previous one, the previous applicant was looking for a zone change. These already have what they need. Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify though, the general plan for the eastern portion is RM, however it is zoned AP, is that?
That's correct.
And that's exactly where it's gonna stay, from my understanding?
There is no request to change the land use zoning.
That's probably good. Okay, and the applicant, does the applicant, unless there's other questions, no? Okay, if the applicant or the representative, please come to the podium. I need to have you a little chair that we saved for you.
Good evening, Commission. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. And as staff described, this is an old piece of property that Southside Road goes through. And they are just attempting to make, it's one legal parcel that spans both sides of the road. They'd like to make one side of the road one parcel, the other side of the road another parcel. The zoning is the same, but yeah, the general plan changes that were discussed earlier under the last general plan goes to Southside Road. So half this, well, not quite half, but a portion of the property is general plan one way, a portion of the property is general plan another way. So it makes it difficult to do one thing with this one legal piece of property when it's got this different designation on part of it and not on the other. And obviously it functions as two pieces of property because Southside Road goes right through the middle. So the only intent here is just to make it two legal pieces of property, one on one side of Southside, the other on the other side of Southside. The piece on the west, already has a home. The piece on the east has been farmed. It was partially adjusted to accommodate the entrance to the promontory. But that's the intent. My comments here have to do with the same thing I discussed earlier, condition 23. The county is asking for 110 or 84-foot dedication. We were showing a 60-foot dedication because that's already more than Southside Road is and can be, in my opinion. But if it has to be 84, it has to be 84. And then at this point in time, the intent is to keep the house and the ag functioning on the west side and probably sell the east side, and that would be the extent of any improvements they'd be doing. So we would request that the road improvements themselves be deferred until some point when improvements are being made on the properties. Do you have any questions?
Any questions of the applicant's representative at this time before we go to public comment?
I just have a question. So the east side is already designated RM?
Yes. And again, that was as a result of the county's general plan, not anything the applicant did.
Yeah. The general plan is RM, however, the zoning is still AP, so there's a conflict. But they're not asking for a change.
They're not, we're not asking for the change, and the piece that results is over 10 acres. So 10 acres on one side, 20 acres on the other, so it's not even to the minimum of ag zoning.
Was it any other questions before we go to public comment?
Through the chair, just to clarify that question, in order to do the density required of RM, they would have to go through a process zone change, and that would come through the planning commission as a recommendation to the board. So it'd be another separate application that would come through.
Which the applicants are not requesting.
No, they're not.
Thank you. Public comment.
Okay, Chair, we have no public.
Okay, if you have speaker cards, please do not clutch onto them. Please bring them forward now so we can move along with this hearing.
We have one public comment in chambers. Carl Scow, you may now approach the podium.
Oh, I guess you know me by now. We farm adjacent to this property. It seems, again, to conform to what's going on. You know, you can't guess what they're going to do with that 10 acres in the future. Hopefully, a review can be done on the general plan sometime by the Board of Supervisors before this goes any further. It currently does agree to the general plan out there for minimum 5 acres, but I would seriously request that no deferral on the road conditions or improvements are done there. Promontory was built, it was originally the same family. I don't know if they built it or sold it to a developer, but no improvements were done. Southside was not widened, and now as cars come out of Ridgemark or Promontory down that back road, they all make a loop to go back to Hollister. The county has already been out once with their trucks to repair all that road. Then a whole group of private contractors were out to repair that road. It is not wide enough on the west side. The east side was never set back far enough, but the west side is a complete mess. There's no shoulder there, so I request that they do not defer the improvements to that west side specifically, because the cars are ripping up that shoulder, the bicycles have come by there, and it is a dangerous mess out there right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Okay, there appears to be no further public comment in chambers or on Zoom.
Okay, public comment is closed. Could we get a commentary from Mr. Loop about the width and also about the condition of the road, please?
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. Steve Loop, Public Works Administrator. And just for a little bit of clarity there, we, the county, did require a dedication of the promontory project. On the very northern west corner, they dedicated 57 feet, and closer to the entrance of promontory that was just discussed, they actually dedicated 80 feet of right-of-way, and we had them cut. Well, not cut, the right-of-way goes all the way to the toe of the slope. As was discussed many times, that slope and other slopes are not the most stable soil, so we did not want dedication into that slope to build a wall or to undermine that slope in any way. So we did have dedication all the way to the toe slope. It does flatten out right at the entrance. There's a sight distance when you're coming out of that entrance. If we had had another 20 feet of dedication, we would have had to cut into that slope for sight distance. So we did not do that. It flattens out right about there, the last couple hundred feet. So just for clarification. The road is generally not in great condition. The contractors that were just out there were actually, we had the developer come out and pay for contractors to repave, I don't know, a couple hundred feet of the road, plus or minus where their trucks were parked. But generally speaking, the road is, it's not in great condition, it's not in horrible condition, but I concur with the sentiment and the request that I think 84 feet is more appropriate than the 110. The 110's in the general plan, so we have to ask for it, but the condition could be for 84 feet, which makes more sense because physically, to 110, I'm not sure we can't cut into the hill, so then you'd be 110 feet out from the toe of the slope, which would be quite a distance. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. So we have the 84 feet, and then we'll talk about the other thing after.
All right.
Thank you.
You're
Any
welcome.
other questions? Okay. Let's start with comments. Commissioner Toledo. Nothing. Commissioner Way. Commissioner Ringhayden. Commissioner Scagliotti.
I have nothing, just concerned about the right-of-way dedication to the road. That's
Okay.
all, but I have nothing to say.
And for the record, I live adjacent to this property. However, I do not have ownership, and therefore I will not recuse myself. So it's basically the same as the last item to me. It's a subdivision that makes sense. We don't want to encourage people to drive their tractors or run their animals across Southside Road because it's a train wreck, as it is. And I would agree that 110 is not realistic. It's delusional to think that the county would ever be able to afford to build the infrastructure to get that thing to 4 lanes. It's just not going to happen, ever. And it's not lifetime, it's just ever. Road improvement, same condition, I would say, prior to a building permit being issued, that the half width be done. And I would also like to add the same condition as the last item, that any further subdivision of any one of those 2 parcels triggers a full width reconstruction along the entire property line on Southside. And then we could strike item 28, the underground and utilities, because it's not needed out there. Is there any discussion from the applicant about the changes to those conditions and whether or not the planning commission, first, does the planning commission agree with that? Is there a consensus to get feedback from the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. Can the applicant or the representative give us a yay or nay, please?
I'd just like to clarify, because you said something about the half road and then you said future. So are you saying improve a half road now?
Before a building permit could be issued, half. Since one side already has a house, so
Mm-hmm.
that's covered, but the other half, if they go to build a house, whoever buys that piece, they'd have to do half.
Okay,
The
just
full
to,
length of the property.
Yes, the full
Why
width
not,
of the property,
why don't we get full width?
because it's just one lot, and that would be, I mean, if we let the 100 unit development get away with very little, I find it difficult to balance the scales and say one person should have to,
All right.
it's not fair.
okay, so again, just to clarify, because there's right of way on both sides of the road, so I just
Mhm.
wanna make sure what you're saying. If they, if the side that does not have a house were to pull a building permit, they would need to improve half the road on their side.
Correct.
Okay,
And then if either side wanted to do a future subdivision, then they would do the full width, or as much as we can get them to do.
Well, full width, if another building permit on the other parcel on the opposite side of the road pulls it, full width on that side.
Yeah. Well, no, it's, so each one, if they're just gonna get a building permit for either parcel, they would have to do half.
Right, and then the
And then
parcel on the other side, if it does another half, they can do it again.
Yes.
Another half.
And then if they do future subdivisions, whichever one does it, then the one that wants to do the future subdivision of either side will end up doing the full width.
so, in this scenario, the piece on the east that has no home would do a half road. The piece on the west that has a home, if they want an additional home, would have to do the road, or if they want to subdivide, would have to do the road.
If they want an additional home, so either one, if they wanna pull a building permit, will have to do their half of the road.
Okay,
And then any future subdivision of either one of those triggers the full width along the entire frontage.
sure. The applicants are here and they are okay with that change.
And we're just trying to get our ducks in a row, because we've always ended up on the short end of the stick, and that's part of the reason our roads are in atrocious condition. So if that's acceptable, to you, I think it's acceptable to us if we can get a motion to that.
Through the chair.
Yes.
If you just wanna specify a residential building permit, if they were to pull a permit for the barn, would that
Yes,
trigger?
residential.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you for clarification. So is there a motion to the effect with all of that was stated in the record?
I make that motion, everything was stated for the record.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, District One, Vincent Ringhaven.
I vote to approve.
District Two, Richard Way.
Yes?
District Three, Robert Scagliotti.
Yes.
District Four, Robert Gibson.
Yes.
District Five, Celeste Toledo Bocanegra.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, and we're going to switch the order. We're gonna put the high school 8.2 before 8.1. So if we can have item 8.2, thank you, everybody, for being patient this evening. So item 8.2, receive a report and recommendation for the notice of property acquisition of the San Benito High School District's intent to acquire 2 parcels, together approximately 13.98 acres. The purpose of this acquisition is for the district's new high school campus.
Through the chair, I'd like to introduce, Council Bree Mobius, who'll be doing the presentation on this tonight. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commission. It's nice to see you again. My name is Bree Mobius. I am outside counsel for San Benito County on that, and I'm with Hefner Law. I do have a short presentation because this is something different that your commission may not have seen before, so I have a short presentation to go over it. I understand that Superintendent Tenenbaum is also in the audience tonight to ask specific questions that you might have for the district. So I can start the presentation unless there was any, if that's okay with the chair?
Please proceed. Yes.
Is that visible for everybody?
Yes. Is there a way to make it full screen though?
We can see your next slide. Yep.
There we go.
How did, good? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So to start with, I want to go over why this item is in front of you tonight is really a creature of state law. So the state law requires it. The high school district is an agency of the state, and so a lot of what they do is governed by state law. And so first we have Government Code Section 65402 that says that the high school district or
Sorry,
state agency.
We're picking you up on the audio. One moment, please. If you could please take your conversations out into the lobby. We're picking you up on the audio. Thank you. Please proceed, Bree.
That a high school district cannot acquire property within the unincorporated area of the county until the location, purpose, and extent of the acquisition has been submitted and reported upon by your planning commission. The planning commission is required under state law to provide a report within 40 days after the matter has been submitted to it, or the acquisition shall be conclusively deemed a finding that the proposed acquisition, disposition, or public building or structure is in conformity with the adopted plan. So your silence would be treated as consistency. And if the planning agency, which is you, disapproves the location, purpose, or extent of such acquisition, disposition, or the public building or structure, the disapproval may be overruled by the local agency, which would be the high school district. Public Resources Code, which is part of CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, Section 21151.2, also addresses acquisition of school sites and location of them. And that says to promote the safety of pupils and comprehensive community planning, the governing board of each school district, before acquiring title to property for a new school site or for an addition to a present school site, shall give the planning commission having jurisdiction notice in writing of the proposed acquisition. The planning commission shall investigate the proposed site and within 30 days after receipt of the notice shall submit to the governing board a written report of the investigation and its recommendations concerning the site. So as you'll see here, CEQA really only gives the county 30 days to agendize this in front of you and then receive your feedback and return the report to the school district. The governing board of the school district shall not acquire title to the property until the report of the planning commission has been received. If the report does not favor the acquisition of the property for a school site or for an addition to a present school site, the governing board of the school district shall not acquire title to the property until 30 days after the commission's report is received. So they can still acquire it, but they have to wait 30 days. We also have Education Code Section 17215.5, and this is dealing with acquiring site for a school that's on agricultural land, as these parcels are. And that provides prior to commencing the acquisition of real property for a new school site in an area designated in the county general plan for agricultural use or zone for agricultural production, the governing board of the school district shall make the following findings. First, that the school district has notified and consulted with the city or here the county. Second, that the final site has been evaluated by the governing board of the school district based on all factors affecting public interest and not limited to the selection of basis of the cost of the land. And three, that the school district will attempt to minimize any public health or safety issues resulting from the neighboring agricultural uses that may affect the pupils and employees at the school site. And then we also have Government Code Section 65352.2, which requires notice to the Planning Commission before the school facilities needs analysis, master plan, or long-range plan relating to the acquisition of a new school is completed. Under this code section, the county at any time can request to meet with the district about related to a new school site, and if requested, the district must meet within 15 days of the request. And under that code section, the meeting can include coordinating planning, design, and construction of new school sites, methods of maximizing the safety of persons traveling to and from school sites, and reviewing possible methods of coordinating planning, design, and construction of new school facilities and sites or major additions. And so this code section requires the school district to meet with us, but the school district, I think, would also meet with the county or county staff upon request and has in the past. And then lastly, Government Code Section 53094 provides that the governing board of a school district that has complied with the requirements of the sections that we previously just talked about, by a vote of 2/3 of its members, may render a city or county zoning ordinance inapplicable to proposed use or the property by the school district. So the school district is required to consult with us, and state law really reflects the desire that the district and the county collaborate and coordinate, but recognizes at the end of the day, the school ultimately is not required to comply with our zoning code or our general plan land use designation if the school district makes a finding to render itself inapplicable. And I would like to go over first, this is not the parcels that are before you tonight, but this is the proposed high school site that the district, I believe, is in contract to acquire or has acquired. And it is 49.68 acres, and it's roughly outlined here in the yellow. It's south of Wright Road and north of Buena Vista Road, and it's east of Highway 156 and west of Highway 125. On September 11th of this year, the school district submitted the notice to the county saying that they voted by a 2/3 vote to overrule the county's zoning for that parcel. And so this is just an excerpt of the notice that was received. And I would point out to your commission that you did not have the opportunity for this specific parcel. So initially, I think there was an understanding that the district was wanting to comply with the county's general plan land use designations, and there was some interest in a potential public, quasi-public overlay in that area, and they were working with county staff to that effect. And you may recall that an item was brought before your planning commission talking about the PQP, or the public, quasi-public overlay, and there was discussion about the school, high school, potentially in this area, but the specific parcel was not brought in front of you. And the county did not have notice of when the district was going to render the county's zoning inapplicable. The county did not receive, courtesy or kind of any communication in advance of that item. And then the notice that's giving rise to today was November 4th that was sent to the county. And this is with the 2 parcels that the district is looking to acquire. And so your commission is tasked with making recommendations about that acquisition. For context, these are the 2 parcels that the district is looking to acquire. And the district has indicated that the 2 parcels will serve as part of the new high school campus. The district has said that there are no preliminary plans or proposed uses for the parcel that will be shared with the county at this time. And the district has not identified preliminary access plans for vehicles or pedestrians for the proposed high school. So I don't have that information to give to you tonight. To put it in context, the yellow is the originally acquired high school site. And again, this is just kind of rough highlighting on a map. It's not perfect, and then the 2 parcels are the blue square you see there. So you can kind of get a relation of how those parcels connect. And here is the county's land use designation. Both the originally acquired school site and the 2 parcels are both an agricultural general plan land use designation. And for the county zoning, again, both the acquired site and the 2 parcels are agricultural productive zoning. The 2 sites that are proposed for acquisition are prime farmland, which is the highest level of farmland when it's rated for soils and other factors. And the 2 sites are not subject to Williamson Act contracts, but the adjacent parcel to the east is subject to a Williamson Act contract. And the acquired site, the larger parcel, is prime farmland and farmland of statewide importance, and it is subject to a Williamson Act contract. So when you're looking at consistency of acquisition with the general plan, you can consider any policies within the county's general plan. What I've highlighted here are policies that jump to mind because it's agricultural zoning and lands, but you can consider any policies within the general plan when you're making your recommendations. When the general plan, when it has an agricultural land use designation, I think as your commission knows, that the purpose of this designation is to maintain the productivity of agricultural land, especially prime land in the county. It is applied to agriculturally productive lands of various types, and the designation allows for agricultural support uses such as processing, wineries, and other public utility and safety facilities, and one principal residential dwelling unit per lot. Under the general plan, it does not allow for schools within the agricultural land use designation. The general plan land use guiding principles is under the agricultural principles is to establish defined boundaries to separate cities and unincorporated communities from prime agricultural land and important natural resources using such features as agricultural buffers, greenbelts, open space, and parks. Also to ensure that agriculture and agricultural related industries remain a major economic sector by protecting productive agricultural lands and industries, promoting new and profitable agricultural sectors, and supporting new technologies that increase the efficiency and productivity of commodity farming. Additional policies protecting agricultural lands in the county general plan include goal LU3, so it's in the land use element, to ensure the long-term preservation of the agricultural industry, agricultural support services, and rangeland resources by protecting these areas from incompatible urban uses and allowing farmers to manage their land and operations in an efficient, economically viable manner. Policy LU39 talks that the county shall protect the rights and operators of productive agricultural properties to commence and continue their agricultural operations, even though established urban uses in the general area may foster complaints against those agricultural and ranching practices. And this comes to a right to farm or right to ranch that's inherent in the county's code and also in the county's general plan, and with consideration to if a school goes in the middle of agricultural lands, is there going to be conflict for the existing and agricultural uses that will remain around that school. And lastly, with agricultural policies, policy LU39 says, if new development permanently converts prime farmland that is class 1 soil to non-agricultural uses, the county shall encourage the project applicants to preserve up to an equal number of prime farmland acres, i.e. a 1-to-1 ratio, either on or off-site. And so that's agricultural mitigation that's pretty standard throughout the state. And the loss of agricultural lands outside of the county's general plan is also considered under the California Environmental Quality Act. It requires an analysis of whether a project will have a significant impact to agricultural lands and requires that all feasible mitigation be adopted to reduce the impact. CEQA Guidelines Appendix G requires evaluation of whether a project will convert prime farmland, unique farmland, or farmland of statewide importance. And CEQA Guidelines Appendix G also requires evaluation of whether a project will conflict with existing zoning for agricultural use or Williamson Act contract. So independent of the general plan, and even if the district, as it has with the original parcel, rendered the county's land use inapplicable, it would still be considered under CEQA. And the county also has a lot of general plans addressing traffic and concerns about traffic in the community. Goal C1 says to provide an adequate road system that is safe, efficient, reliable, and within the county's ability to finance and maintain. Policy C1.1 says the county shall ensure that whenever possible, roadway, highway, public transit systems, and pedestrian and bicycle trails are interconnected within modes of transportation. Policy C15 says the county shall assess fees on all new development to ensure new development pays its fair share of the cost for new and expanded transportation facilities as applicable to the county, city, or regional and state facilities. And policy C112 says the county shall endeavor to maintain general plan target goal of level of service D at all locations. If a transportation facility is already at LS D or E, then the existing LOS could be maintained. And additional policies with traffic, policy C114 says the county shall encourage driveways to be located on adjacent collector streets rather than on arterial streets, which would relate to where the access would be for the proposed high school. Policy C21 says the county shall encourage complete, safe, and interconnected bicycle, pedestrian, and equestrian systems as appropriate to the context that serve both commuter travel and recreational use and provide access to major destinations. Policy C29 says the county shall support the Safe Routes to School program and pursue grant funding to encourage school-age children to bike and walk to school. And again, traffic is also analyzed under CEQA, and it requires consideration of whether the project would conflict with a program, plan, ordinance, or policy addressing the circulation system, including transit, roadway, bicycle, and pedestrian facilities. If it would substantially increase hazards due to a geometric design feature, such as sharp curves or dangerous intersections, or incompatible uses with, for example, farm equipment. And Caltrans, also that has jurisdiction over the state highways, has been considering whether a project would cause a backup on on-ramps or off-ramps or entrances to their facilities, and is considering that a CEQA safety issue if there is potential delay in guidance that they've issued this year. And then also, would it result in inadequate emergency access considerations for evacuation, for example. And the general plan also addresses school sites. Policy PFS 17 says the county shall encourage public facilities to be clustered or made joint use facilities. For example, park and recreation uses incorporated into retention basins and schools. And this is to improve efficiency and reduce public costs, and encouraging cost sharing. So for example, parks at the schools can often be used by the public in non-school hours in certain jurisdictions. Policy PFS 10.3 says the county shall encourage school districts to site new schools in locations that are consistent with current and future land uses. The county shall also encourage the siting of new schools near residential areas with safe access for students to walk or bicycle to and from their homes. Policy PFS 10.6 says the county shall coordinate with school districts to reduce the effects of incompatible land uses and noise adjacent to school facilities. And policy PFS 10.8 says the county shall prohibit the siting of new land uses or facilities that use, store, emit, treat, or dispose of large quantities of hazardous materials within 1/4 mile of an existing public or private school facility. And so these policies are considering the impacts of the surrounding uses on the school itself. And so a consideration is, what are the existing uses, and will those existing uses be able to operate without complaints from the school with its operations or potential conflicts. So again, tonight, the purpose of the agenda item is for your planning commission to provide recommendations and direction to staff that we will put in a report and then submit to the school district. Given the timing under the state law of 30 days, it would not be possible to return to you with the final version. So what I would ask is if you give direction tonight, and then we can put that in a letter from the commission. You are asking whether the proposed acquisition is consistent with the county's general plan, and then providing direction to staff on any additional recommendations to include in your report that would be provided to the district. 2 recommendations from staff is that your planning commission request that if the district intends to pursue a new high school in the location, that it perform an environmental impact report that complies with CEQA to analyze all potential environmental impacts from the high school, including the loss and mitigation for the loss of agricultural land, traffic impacts, including safe access for vehicles and pedestrians, evacuation impacts, consistency with the general plan, and potential for conflicting land uses. Staff also recommends that the Planning Commission report identify or recommend the district determine all existing agricultural uses within 1/4 mile of the proposed site to determine potential conflicts with existing uses prior to the acquisition, so that the district, when making its decision, would fully understand what is existing uses around the site. And that is the end of the presentation I have. I'm happy to answer any questions from the commission.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to the high school district, do you have any questions of Bree? Nope. Does any representative of the high school district have a presentation? Okay, thank you. Of course.
I appreciate that. Chair Gibson, Commission, good to see you again. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate Council's lengthy and thorough presentation. I just want to share a few words, and, you know, if you have questions for me this evening, we're here to answer those questions. One, I want to commend the staff, you know, the RMA staff, the county staff. I just happened to go through my calendar and I pulled the last 2 years. We have met with the county 34 times regarding the second high school land use issues, the PQP, and looking and citing the high school itself, as well as the facility needs committee. So I just want to thank the staff for their time. It has been a long, methodical process that we have taken to identify our parcels. I know you've looked at the attachments that we did provide to the commission, and so we went through a very thorough analysis. In terms of taking a look at where we are, we have had organized meetings with California Department of Education regarding their jurisdiction over our siting of our school. Those are ongoing and collaborative in nature. We do not have a final plan. We have a design, but we are months away or years away from a final plan at this segment in time. Last but not least, there are some inconsistencies in the report that was presented tonight. And one of them I just want to point out is that on February 13th of 2024, I did receive a letter from the county regarding our purchase of the Wright Road property, 49.6 acres. I believe it was penned by Sean Cameron himself. We did identify the parcel, and at that particular time, that parcel did conform with the general land use designations, etc., and we appreciate that. But it was noted in the presentation that that was not done in time, but that was actually months ahead of the September decision by our governing board. So without further ado, you know, I thank you for the time, I thank you for the opportunity, and if you have any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Commissioner Toledo?
Can you just remind me again, Mr. Tenenbaum, how this parcel was chosen again? I know it was how was it picked? Why this location? Was it?
We're looking at the 14 acres,
on the right road, yes.
Are we looking at the 14 acres?
Or the whole campus?
The whole campus,
we looked at a lot of different properties.
Right.
I think I have a map there of 22 different properties that we evaluated from the south side to where we are. And taking a look at the consideration, one of the policies that you actually heard tonight from council was making sure that we site a school near a residential neighborhood and or future residential neighborhood where students can actually have access to pedestrian walking, and if you'd like me to read the policy, I will. But we took a look at our density map, and I think I shared that with you before with the Planning Commission. And we looked at where is the most dense student population currently, and where do we anticipate future students coming from? And that is near the Buena Vista corridor. So when we took a look at fault lines, we took a look at floodplains, we took a look at opportunities, we looked at Highway 25, we looked at the landfill, we looked at the airport, and so this made the most logical sense. So
and one more question. So this parcel was purchased by Hollister High School, right? Or is it?
So the 49.6 acres was purchased by the high school district.
Okay. Just to clarify,
yeah,
thank you.
The parcel that is before you today, we are in escrow right now. Thank you. Good questions.
Commissioner Ringhaden?
I go back to the location, how it was chosen. I'm just a little concerned that there's a lot of ag right in that neighborhood. In the future, if you put a high school there, and these folks got different things they need to spray for pesticides, was that a consideration?
Yeah, the high school will work with any regulation, any policy, any procedure that.
Well, I'm just concerned because it seems so.
Yeah. Commissioner, I would tell you that right now in the state of California, most high schools are either being built or schools are being built, unfortunately, on either ag land, rangeland, or farmland. And it's a situation that is outside my control in terms of taking a look at what's happening in California. But we did consider that, and we'll work with any future regulations. Yeah, it's just
and part of your consideration. Thank you so much for that. Part of your consideration was future neighborhoods in choosing this location.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Way?
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. The discrepancy that you cited in the presentation, when you showed the letter that was received, are you saying that it is not the case that the county was not notified or consulted prior to the vote and the overruling of the zoning and ordinances by the 2/3 majority before the acquisition of the 49-acre parcel in the first place? Or is that what you're saying, or am I misunderstanding
Based
that?
upon the timeline, Commissioner, yes. The
And I could
timeline
add
is, a
just
letter
one-
was issued in February. My board, the governing board of the district, took action in September. And this is the first property, which was 009, the 49.68 acres.
If I could clarify, I think there was a misunderstanding at the time and staff replied and it didn't come to the planning commission as it should have.
I see.
Staff inadvertently, they didn't know exactly what to do, so they responded to the letter from the high school instead
I
of
see.
bringing it to us.
Okay, thank you.
Is that?
And I would clarify though, for the commission, staff did reach out to the district when we realized that it should have gone to the planning commission to ask the district to bring an item to the planning commission. And that meeting was ended, and then the next communication we received was the rendering of the zoning inapplicable. So what the presentation was saying is that staff and the county did not have any courtesy notice even that the district was agendizing that decision to render the zoning code inapplicable when we were seeking to bring that item back to the planning commission.
Got it.
And
So
sorry,
advantage
through-
was taken of that. Got it. Thank you.
And just through the chair, the planning department did bring a discussion item to the planning commission on the PQP. And so, I believe that was part of what went into, the misconception that we had come to planning commission to review the PQP and, potential area of, sites.
Okay, and I'll just clarify that my recollection of that meeting was that there was an area off close to 156, not right in the middle of all the farmland. When we were discussing it, it was over by 156, not even on Wright Road, actually. It was Buena Vista was always referred to. So there's some misunderstanding of what was happening. Commissioner Scagliotti, you're chomping at the bit.
Yes, I'm not gonna say anything because I'm dead against where this high school is going. There has been no thought process for the traffic flow for Wright Road, the pedestrians. That road is a piece of garbage. The new parcel you're buying does not even touch Buena Vista Road to make a second ingress egress. You're in the middle of beautiful farmland. It's roughly about 1,050 acres that the minute you drive a nail, you're gonna destroy. The farmers will not be able to work out there. We cannot farm within a quarter mile of your school. We can't spray except at night and on weekends. It is the worst decision the high school has ever made, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wade, did you have any other comments? Any other? Commissioner Toledo?
Can I just suggest, I'm not, this is not part of what we're talking about, but the solar panels that are in the planning, can I suggest you use them as a overhead of a parking and not take land? It's just a small suggestion I have in general.
I think the existing school, the solar panels are above the parking lot, correct?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's just wanted to point that out. If you can, maybe for future plans,
Yeah.
suggest an over parking lot. But also, the extra property after, let me see, connecting to there's a parcel of new homes connected to Buena Vista. And in between the high school property, there's a small little square in yellow. I'm not sure.
Is that at the top
Would
end?
that be a connection for an exit area going to the new homes, maybe?
Not sure.
What slide is that, Celeste?
So this one is in my paper. It's not a slide, it's page 7 of this packet right here.
Is there a title?
So just respond,
Right here.
just quick response to the commissioner about the solar PV. It is a requirement for all new schools and it would be rooftop. So
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
We're gonna try to pull up.
I'm gonna pull up slide 14.
that the slide you want to see?
Yes, so right where the school property is, and then the little square at the bottom, you said that there's no use for it at this moment. Would that be a possibility of, an exit, maybe road going into the new homes south of that?
Yeah. Commissioner,
For
thank
the
you,
plans.
yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So if we can stay on that slide, I think I can
That's a better view, thank you.
articulate and talk you through it.
That's better.
Oh, perfect. So we do have, a new residential development right here, and it's occupied right now. I'm not sure how many homes are there, but, quite a few. If we take a look at the road that is right here, sorry for my reach, right there, that is West Side Road.
West, yes.
And in West Side Road, are all the public amenities. So you have sewer, water, electrical, et cetera. And there's an actual adjacent right through here, and I'm not sure the name of that road, but that is the connection point for your sewer. Is it Gonzales? Yeah, Gonzales. And so when we took a look at considerations for property access, pedestrian, bicycles, vehicular, ingress, egress from two different points of access, not just Wright Road, this piece of property and or one adjacent to it, east or west, made the most sense.
Right. So Gonzales Road continues on to the older homes, which is my my neighborhood, where I'm born and raised in that area, so I know that area well. And as, Commissioner Scagliotti, I know I don't agree with the growth there. It's unfortunate that our ag land has been taken, but I,
Yeah, I mean, Commissioner, you're hitting it right on the head. I mean, if I can just go back to the slide, I want
Right.
to touch on a couple points
Right.
for you, in the commission, if I could. Could we go back to that slide?
I'm doing it right now.
Thank you, Council. So our considerations, and I've shared this with you before when I came, was really to align both with the city and the county. So the district has the tough task of making sure we have conformity with two general plans, not only the county's general plan, but the city's general plan. And so we have to make sure that we're aligning for our future. And when I say the future, currently, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it's right in the middle of this, but the apricot orchards are torn down in one particular area, if you know that particular area, right by Calaveras Elementary. I saw sewer main going in there today. So that is a project that is underway and developing. We also have one that is, I believe, right here, just adjacent to it, on the west side, that is already approved. There are 968 particular units that are approved in this particular vicinity alone. That does not count at all the city of Hollister's draft general plan. So when we take a look at future growth, and we take a look at, we're not a land use decision maker, everybody. We're trying to respond to the best we can for the community. We're not trying to build homes, we're not trying to build a development, we're trying to build minds. It's as simple as that. So thank you.
so, yeah, I just wanna say thank you. It's unfortunate, like I said, I don't agree with the homes being built there. I grew up in that area, but thank you for that explanation. It's something we do need. I know we need a second high school, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before I go to the other commissioners, you are not a land use body, however, you have, if this goes through, you will have forced the county into changing the land use, and the city has no say over the county's land use, so that point to me is moot. The city can say whatever it wants with county land, but it can't do a thing about it, which is unfortunate now that you're forcing our hand, and you will cause the demise of farming all around that property if a high school gets built. And that is a concern of the County Planning Commission. The city can do whatever it wants. It can build until there's nothing left. That's not our problem. We're trying to save farmland, and this is smack against that. And it's unfortunate that not any local body has the ability to stop the state. And we've seen that time and time again with everything that the state does, that somebody needs to rein them in. They forget who they answer to. Commissioner Ringhaden.
Thank you. You know, my concern is it is smack dab in the middle of just some beautiful ag property here. You mentioned apricot. I thought I saw Apricot King down the street. So it is kind of a, to me, you're cutting a slice right into this beautiful agricultural area. And the other thing that I drove out there last night, it's at West Side's dead ends, right there.
Yeah, right off
And
the, yeah.
The slide's,
going
the
west.
slide's gone.
Yeah.
I actually spoke to some of the residents there. They happened to be coming home with their kids. And, you know, that was their concern about the spraying of, you know, so I thought I'd bring that up. But to be honest with you, I gotta kind of agree with, Commissioner Scagliotti. It just seems like it's just right in the middle of this beautiful ag area, and that's my concern.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for meeting with the residents. I did as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Scagliotti, any final thoughts?
Yeah, one final thing. This little, on my thing here, that slide up there, that little blue, the new acquisition you're making, that 14.6 something acres, you're gonna put a road through that, right? Is that what you're probably
Right
gonna do?
now, we have no
Well, you
plans.
have, oh, you have to get the people in and out of there. You have to put a road. So what good is that 14, what can you put on that little 14 acres after you put a road through it and this and that, benefit that school, when it's kitty corner to the property you already purchased, and it's not a full abutment to it, you maybe have 100 feet by looking at this map. What good's that do you? What good is it? I mean, you did that, you have no actual, room to work with anything. You've got two little slivers you're working with. Explain to me how that's gonna benefit that other piece of property to help you with the high school.
Yeah, we're early on in our plans.
No,
Commissioner.
you should be there already.
Yeah.
If you're doing it that far, you should be there already, figuring out what you're gonna do there.
Thank you.
I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer?
We're early on in our plans. It provides access for it. If we can pull it up, I can actually show you. How's that?
Yeah, Bree has it up on the screen, see map? There you go.
Slide 7?
Yeah.
So,
Bree, can you update to slide 7, please?
yes, she's got it. Thank you, council.
That one?
It had a blue, it had the
Yes,
blue rectangle.
that's what I'm looking
That's
at.
the one you got.
Oh.
So as I mentioned earlier, this is a vital piece to the second high school. We need to tap into water, sewer, and electrical. It provides access to us to be able to tap in and run pipe. That's number one.
So-
Number two, it provides access for both pedestrian, bicycle, and potentially vehicular traffic. Do I think a road's gonna go in there? I don't know yet. Why don't I know? Because we haven't purchased the property yet. We haven't completed escrow. We
Okay.
will work on that.
I got a question for you. Why would you buy past that first on the right road before you acquisition there? Why would you skip over a piece of property that you necessarily have to have and then go and buy another piece of property further away from the services that you need? Why would you do that?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer your question, Commissioner, so,
I'm just wondering.
yeah, I don't know how to answer your question, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I just want to say, like I'm saddened about the agriculture land, right? It's been in the works for decades already, so it's already been cut. The houses are already built. There's houses being built now as we speak, and it is frustrating. So to me, I just want to say that it's unfortunate. I used to run through those ag parcels when I would work out, so it's very frustrating to see homes there. So it's kind of like it's been tainted already to me. So I just wanted to point that out to everyone.
Thank you. Is there any public comment?
Yeah, Joe, please approach the podium.
Thank you, Superintendent.
So I know I'm a bit of a central figure with the whole Measure A battle thing, and this is gonna sound like a big kind of a surprise coming from me of all people, but I'm actually kind of in support of this. I know that Sacramento has imposed a lot of things on us. You know, I'm not exactly a big fan of the state. Robert and I agree on that subject in particular, that the state has put a lot of stuff on us and has unfortunately seemed to, you know, be a little strong-armed with its approach. But the fact of the matter is that unless Our Neighborhood Voices initiative passes or something similar to it in 2026, the fact of the matter is Sacramento is going to continue to ship children to Hollister and to San Benito County. They're going to keep bringing houses. Houses means people. People means children. So, and I'm a Baylor myself. Well, graduated.
Baylor myself, and I know the school was crowded even back when I was there, and well, it feels like a while ago. And it just sorry, I got something stuck in my teeth. It just seems like it seems a little less than wise to be trying to put this off. I think we should assume given that that if this our neighborhood voices initiative were to be put on the ballots, it would be opposed probably by probably about $1 million or more of housing industry and development. I think we should be looking towards a possibility that either might fail or not make it on the petition. We should. I can speak from personal experience when I say that that a long straight road, a high school, and nothing else to do is a bad situation. You're asking for drag races. You're asking for problems. Like I said, I know this from experience. I haven't drag raced myself, but I know people who love to. I know them and I worry for them sometimes. And I think we need to consider that if high school is going to be in place, that's right. If the children are going to be here, we're going to need a high school. And if we need a high school, we need to have a supply of fun around it. We need some kind of economy of fun. And because we need to give the kids something to do if this is coming, and it seems like it's going to be coming. There's housing that's going to be coming in. The high school can override our concerns, whatever they may be. It seems like in this case, the state's already forcing us to bring in people and to give them a school in which to reside in, or to learn in. And I think we should prepare for the possibility that we might lose if we take to the housing industry if we do get that our neighborhood voices initiative on the ballot. Fingers crossed it passes. Fingers crossed it gets on the ballot. Fingers crossed it passes. I would love nothing more than to see that, but we're going to be up against a lot if that happens, and I want us to prepare for the possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Please come to the podium.
Just state your state your name for the public record, please.
Well, my interest is high school. I think we do need another high school. The one that you have is very big and it's also overcrowded. But the whole town that I see, that the whole development is going farther towards San Juan Bautista, toward Fairview Road, and all we have is one elementary school on the west side, and it's not a bad school, but what I can see is not also positive to me, is that when you build a high school toward the west side, where it's low-income people and the newcomers from out of town, we're gonna be segregating again by borderlines, just like we did it with Fairview Road developing better, and over the town here, the west side is what we call the minority area, where now the newcomers are coming in. And if we get voters to vote the correct way, we would see it very clearly where the division is. I'm only concerned that if you develop the high school, do it right with the thought of having people from the county wanting that school. I thought we did vote for it. So I just don't understand that we are questioning now about land and farming, where there's areas that have already been taken over by big developers, and we didn't say anything, and now we're doing it because it's on the west side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, can you state your name for the record? I didn't catch it. Victoria Montoya. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
Okay, moving over to Zoom, Julio Rodriguez.
Hello, thank you for, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Just want to make sure. Okay. No, I just wanted to comment, I think, just also wanted to really urge the San Benito County Planning Commission to also, be in attendance for the December 3rd City Council sphere of influence, because that's also going to have a massive impact on what goes out, what is built out there. And I just really want to state, I think, the obvious that, that there was no concerted effort from the city of Hollister, and I think from the high school, to really mitigate the agricultural impacts. And I think it's just unfortunate because first off, Hollister decided not to go with a 2-to-1 agricultural preservation, knowing that they're going to essentially expand the sphere of influence. The high school kind of just, went along with it anyways as well, planning, so I think the county's role in all of this, I'm going to be honest, I don't think that the high school really was even anticipating to really work with the county. I think it was just kind of just this illusion, like, oh yeah, sure. But, all along, I think they had it planned out all along that they were banking in on Hollister expanding the sphere of influence and kind of ramrodding that through. I just really want to echo kind of what the chair said, and Robert, that it's not right. This is some of the best farmland in the county. Even former planning director Rob Mendiola stated that. Also, is it even feasible to even get the high school built? I mean, the high school bonds have failed. To me, it just seems like a more of an entitlement grab from the people that are out there. This is kind of why Measure A1. People are tired of that. Regardless where the growth's coming from, people are tired of it. And this is essentially, this high school is going to basically promote more growth. You cannot spray out there. So I don't know, I just wanted to echo my concerns, or my frustration, I should say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Sarah Steiner.
Hi, I'm Sarah Steiner, a county resident, but I did participate on the Hollister 2040 plan as part of the public advisory group. And we made very clear that agriculture does not mix with housing and commercial, for all the reasons that have already been stated. And Ms. Mobius mentioned so many county goals and policy that are contradicted by this site. And even looking at this, what I see on Zoom now, this map, yes, there are a lot of houses, but the school itself is totally surrounded by prime agriculture that is not replaceable once it's paved over. I mean, that's gold. That prime ag is gold. And there are, I'm sure, a lot of choices of where to put this school that serves developments that are currently there. A lot of this is proposed, and I know the Hollister sphere of influence goes pretty far, but it would be much better to situate the school someplace that's not a commuter hub, that's not surrounded by agriculture, and that doesn't have so many contradictions with county goals and policies. So this is very disappointing. If this had come up this evening as a housing development, there'd be no question it would be shot down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have no more public comment in chambers or via Zoom.
Thank you. Public comment is closed. County Council, is this a motion or just a consensus of the Planning Commission?
I would suggest, it's either or, however the chair would like to do it. I would suggest, though, if you have a motion, because the statutes do talk about if the Planning Commission does approve it, even though you don't have that approval, but for the recommendation via written letter that we would submit to the district, I can draft that at your direction and then provide it to the chair to sign. And so if there's any points, I've taken notes, and if there's consensus on the points that have been shared, I can use those notes to draft the recommendation. If there's anything else that Commission would like in the letter, it'd be helpful to provide that direction now as well. But at least a consensus or a vote on whether the Commission agrees with the location and general plan consistency would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. So on page 12 of the addendum that we received, slide 24, there's a staff recommendations. I think we just get consensus on these issues, and then we'll get a motion to direct staff to work on that report. Is that acceptable? Of the addendum, the high school district acquisition, page 12 of that packet. It's the last page, slide 24.
It's also up on the screen for your reference.
It's also up on the screen. Okay, that we can't. Well, I can't. It's a little blurry. So whether the proposed acquisition is consistent with the county general plan, obviously it isn't, because that's the second best farmland in the county, and if we pave it over, you will not be getting your fresh vegetables from there anymore. And that whole corridor is under threat from housing, from many forces that we apparently don't have control over. Is there a consensus from the commission that this site is not consistent with the county general plan?
I would certainly agree with that.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay, Commissioner Toledo? Okay, direction to staff, additional recommendations. I would like to see an EIR, especially regarding the traffic issues and the destruction of the farmland.
I can't even imagine proceeding with this without an EIR, and I realize that the county cannot be what's the word?
Lead agency.
Right, but somebody needs to conduct an EIR here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get a copy, and maybe we can have a presentation at the planning commission to talk about it, because I see it as a train wreck. Either you're gonna have kids on 25, which that will not work out well, or you're gonna have them going through residential streets and jamming up that entire part of Hollister, which isn't good either. So I think that needs to be discussed at some length if the school district decides to move ahead with this location.
I think we need to have a discussion also, who is gonna pay to have Wright Road completely rebuilt from Highway 25 to 156. Complete, brand new, 2-lane, full width road. Somebody's gonna pay for that, and this county of San Benito should not have to pay for that. Period.
Agreed.
Anybody else agree with me?
Yep. Okay, so we've covered that, and I don't think the county should be spending the energy to identify all the existing agricultural uses within a quarter of a mile. I would request that the school district do that, if they haven't already, so that we can have a better understanding of what the true impact will be, because the state keeps strengthening the regulations regarding spraying around schools. They just had another one a couple of months ago that allows the state to step in over the county ag commissioner. So even though the school district position is that it's not going to induce housing, I disagree completely that it will. And then we also have the city of Hollister, for some reason, urging more housing in that direction as well, instead of using infill off of Hillcrest and Santa Ana, which would be a more intelligent decision.
I would also point out that the way this is worded, within a quarter mile of the proposed site, the proposed site to me means the entirety of the proposed site, including the 49 acres that, it's not just the 14 acres that we're talking about tonight, it's the whole thing.
Correct. We were deprived of our input on the initial
Exactly,
parcel, so
yes,
I think we could wrap it all together.
And that was deliberate, that was not an oversight.
That was county, that was.
Thank you.
Yep.
That was county staff, and hopefully it wasn't deliberate.
No, I mean, it was,
Oh, the coming back once the high school was asked to come back? Well, that was, I don't know what to say there.
Yeah, EIR, can we have it, so how much loss of revenue from farming we will lose with that? Can that be done in EIR? What is the lost revenue, gross revenue every year to the county? How much are we gonna lose every year?
How many jobs?
Can I
How much money?
also add to that? But I want to know what farmland was that farmland actually being used?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
high
just making
density
sure.
farming, triple crop.
Bree, do you need any other additional information before we get a motion to encapsulate all this discussion we're having?
No, I had one question, Commissioner Scaglietti. You said the rebuilding Wright Road. Did you say 4 lanes or 2 lanes?
Well, I had my way, it'd be 4 lanes, but I won't get my way, but I'll take a good solid a full wide 2-lane road. And I mean the width of a complete thoroughfare, not just a little 2-lane road like we have. I'm talking a 2-lane full thoroughfare road.
Pedestrian and bicycles.
Pedestrian, bicycle, the whole 9 yards, everything. It's state code, let's put it that way.
For the safety of the children that are being put out there.
And a light at 25 and Wright Road, at least.
be an excellent idea, and not a roundabout, a
No,
light.
the light.
I think we've had enough of
Because
roundabouts.
of these kids, like they say, speeding, hey, slow them down, we need a light there.
Okay, Bree, did we cover everything?
Yes, I have notes on all of that.
Is there a
Thank you.
motion to that effect on the table? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda, 8.1, value capture and upzoning and urban planning discussion. Thank you.
Alrighty, hello Chair and Commissioners, long time no see. Stephanie Reck, Associate Planner, here to discuss value capture and upzoning and urban planning at the request of the Planning Commission. I am going to provide an overview of a research article by Minji Kim, published from Florida State University, titled Upzoning and Value Capture, How U.S. Local Governments Use Land Use Regulation Power to Create and Capture Value from Real Estate Developments. So let's get into it. The overall idea of value capture is that careful planning can bring value to our landscape, and that value can be brought back for public benefit. In other words, value capture refers to the process of securing public benefits from the increased land value that arises from public actions, such as upzoning and increasing density and height limits. When a jurisdiction changes zoning regulations to permit taller or denser developments, it often leads to a rise in property values. Value capture mechanisms aim to ensure that some of this increase in value is reinvested into the community, or that it is used to fund public infrastructure and services. So the objective of this paper was to investigate how land use regulations are used to create and capture value in real estate developments. So, as you are undoubtedly familiar with, upzoning refers to higher density development and building height, which adds value by enabling more development. So the value can then be captured for public benefit. Common tools for value capture include impact fees, development charges, or land value taxes, which help balance the benefit of increased development with the cost of maintaining and improving urban infrastructure. The approach explored in this paper includes negotiations and agreements which promote a more equitable growth by ensuring that the public sector benefits from private value created by upzoning and other planning actions occur. And so, how can we negotiate for value capture? We can do this in a number of different ways through affordable housing. Jurisdictions can negotiate for a portion of the new development to include affordable housing, as we are familiar with. This promotes social equity by ensuring that housing is available for lower income individuals. Public infrastructure investments and amenities. So developers can be required to contribute to the development for or improvements of public infrastructure and amenities like roads, parks, transit systems, schools, open spaces, which would then benefit the broader community, improving life, the quality of life for all individuals. And then there's negotiated agreements. So local governments can negotiate with developers to secure specific public benefits through community benefit agreements. These might include commitments to hire local workers, providing job training, creating small business opportunities, or ensuring the inclusion of public art or other cultural amenities. And as we've also learned, we can request drop tax and other things such as that. Higher property taxes. Upzoning can lead to an increase in property values, and as a result, counties can capture the increased tax revenues. These additional funds can then be reinvested into the community to fund additional services like education, healthcare, public safety, and transportation. And so green building requirements, we already use these in our developments, but upzoning can also be paired with requirements for sustainable features in new developments, such as green roofs, energy efficient designs, stormwater management systems, and these measures can help reduce the environmental footprint of new developments and contribute to the broader sustainability goals. Local economic benefits. Large-scale developments that result from upzoning often include mixed-use projects that combine residential, commercial, and retail spaces. This can stimulate local economy by creating jobs, attracting businesses, and increasing consumer activity. And then we have public space and urban design. Jurisdictions may require developers to integrate high-quality public spaces into new projects like pedestrian pathways, plazas, or green spaces. These can help enhance urban aesthetics, promote walkability, and improve public health and well-being. And then finally, increasing social equity by requiring affordable housing or other equity-based measures in exchange for upzoning. Counties can ensure that low-income and historically marginalized communities are not displaced as a result of rising property values. And so in summary, public benefits of value capture and upzoning are wide-ranging and can include provisions of affordable housing and everything mentioned here by ensuring that value generated from higher density development is shared with the public. Jurisdictions can foster more sustainable, inclusive, and prosperous urban environments, according to the paper. This paper explores how 5 major U.S. cities, Boston, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, and Seattle, are using land regulations, particularly through upzoning, to create and capture value in real estate development projects. So it focuses on zoning and entitlement process of 20 projects within each of those cities and analyze how the value is generated. And so the study found that in all 100 projects analyzed, value was successfully captured, with upzoning playing a significant role in 90 of those projects. So this practice distinguishes itself from traditional land use extraction tools like impact fees, as the additional value generated through upzoning strengthens the local government's legitimacy in negotiating for public benefits. I also want to take this time to note the difference between value creation and value capture. Value creation is the additional value generated from upzoning, and value capture would include the public benefits secured in exchange for that upzoning. And so the paper further highlights that value capture can be tailored to the unique regulatory, political, and cultural context of each city. However, the research also reveals several challenges. None of the cities had clear standards or frameworks for determining how much value was created, what public benefits should be requested, and who should ultimately benefit from that captured value. In many cases, the value capture process involved project-specific negotiations, leaving these questions largely unanswered. The paper also suggests that cross-national research on value capture could offer different insights into how these gaps could be filled and might provide clear guidelines for balancing private developments with public needs. And so while upzoning is an effective tool for creating value in urban development, the lack of standardized frameworks for value capture leaves room for greater transparency and fairness in determining benefits to the public. Some things to think about when establishing a methodology for evaluation are how much value was created and how would we measure the value created, what should be requested in return, like what is our appropriate exchange, and who should benefit then, developers, the public, or both. In terms of the projects that were reviewed, many of the value capture agreements were negotiated on a case-by-case basis, so there was not a one-size-fits-all type of agreement. In conclusion, upzoning effectively creates value, but inconsistent frameworks for value capture limit its potential. Developing clearer policies and evaluation methods could enhance the effectiveness of value capture and ensure more equitable outcomes from urban growth. Policy recommendations include developing clear guidelines for evaluating value creation, establishing standard processes for determining public benefits in exchange for upzoning, and consider the balance between private development and public needs. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Before we go to public comment, are there any questions from the commission?
I have one question. Why did you use Boston, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, and Seattle to represent our small little community?
That's a great question. So I did not, I was directed to review this article to you. This was not a choice of planning staff. This was a direction for planning staff to present this to you. I do appreciate that this is about urban environments and that we are a rural environment. I do note that us as a rural environment do lack key infrastructure to make a lot of this possible.
I forwarded the article to staff.
You should have known.
But it's not about the specific cities, it's about the concepts that we may or may not use. Let's go to public comment and then we'll come back to the commission.
We have a public comment in chambers. Seth, you may now approach the podium.
It's a big picture topic. You know, I think we already do this in some senses with our inclusionary housing ordinance and through our development agreements. I think there's some real potential pitfalls with development agreements that we saw at the truck stop in terms of timing, but also just in terms of how they're negotiated to make sure that doesn't become political or with favoritism, that we have some real objective standards for doing that. But what intrigued me about this article was the possibility of doing this. You know, they were doing it all in the context of specific projects, but you know, the way zoning works and general plan changes, what we do is we kind of pick winners and they get a windfall. And that would be a place where, in my mind, it would make sense for some of that value to come back to the community. I think the big challenge with that is anything you do along those lines, just like impact fees, tends to push the cost of housing up, which we don't want to see happen. You know, I think if there was a long-term way of easing a plan like that in, it would lower the value of land somewhat, because people are getting a windfall when they sell land. Not that they shouldn't make a profit on their land, but when we pick out winners, they make a big windfall, and then everyone who wasn't picked doesn't get anything. So I think it's intriguing concept, but something we're not going to decide tonight.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, we have an additional comment via Zoom. Julio Rodriguez, you have now been muted.
Hello, just wanted to thank staff for really taking the time to really like kind of introduce this concept. If the planning commission and the will is to continue to kind of delve into ideas, this concept really was kind of looked at through a book that I was recently reading. It's called Windfalls for Wipeouts, Land Value Capture and Compensation. And just to kind of, you know, another way to put it, I think, for the board is it's kind of like in the United States, if we are to take someone's property, there has to be just cause. There has to be a compensation. That's Fifth Amendment. So we have to compensate people for their property because we're taking something. So with this concept is basically saying, okay, well, what happens when the government, right, is giving entitlements to property owners who now, let's just say, you know, like we've seen today, where their property goes from agricultural rangeland or whatnot, where, okay, maybe it's, you know, $500,000 an acre as ag. Okay, what happens when we rezone it as multifamily? Okay, so we've just made somebody, you know, maybe 5 million overnight. And I think I've heard maybe the planning commissioners kind of, you know, are frustrated about, okay, well, we have to fix these roads, we have to do this, but this is an additional way to say, okay, you know, this person selling the land, he's not just going to be able to sell his entitlement off. You know, the local government, the local municipality is going to recoup some of that. So it definitely is entirely different than an impact fee, where the impact fee would be kind of more on the developer. This is more recouping the value that we've given to these property owners. Anyhow, like I said, I just want to reiterate, thank staff so much for taking the time to explain this. So, but I would definitely recommend looking more into these concepts.
Thank you.
Okay, there appears to be no additional comment in chambers and or on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Public comment is closed. Back to the commission. Does anyone have any interest in asking staff to flesh out what would suit our county? And then from that point, I guess we could make a recommendation that the board take a look at it sometime down the road. Obviously, this isn't going to happen next month. I think they need a little breather from all the ordinances we've updated this year. Is there any interest pursuing any of this concept from the Planning Commission?
I don't think it'd be a bad thing to pursue it if we use smaller cities, something a little more comparable to what we are. And the cities, I won't tell you what I think of the cities that are mentioned, because I know it's not working for them.
Okay, Commissioner Scagliotti, I'm on board. Anyone else? You get a consensus?
Sure, I mean, it's definitely worth, looking at. There's no harm in, attempting to do what we can along these lines. It certainly, is, better than some of the other ideas that we've, tried and
Okay.
not done terrific at.
Commissioner Toledo?
Yes, I'm on board.
Commissioner Ringhaden? There we go. So we'll leave it up to the professionals to kind of flesh out what would and wouldn't work here. And then whenever you can bring back a report, then we'll have a discussion and figure out whether or not we'll send a recommendation that the board consider those. The general plan, the next general plan, the 2055 general plan should be coming up soon, especially if we're gonna have to go to the voters once or twice to get that thing through. And we might fold some of these concepts into that as we go along. I think that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Can I
Make
just
the
ask,
motion, we
can I
adjourn.
just ask a question?
Whoop,
How
Commissioner,
many
sorry.
more meetings do we have?
Just one.
One
Oh,
more.
that's right, yes.
So can I request something from the staff? If possible, I believe Chair Gibson has been chair, for how many years? Possibly 6 years? I don't know.
It feels like it.
So if we can have an acknowledgement, either, the last planning commission meeting or, last board of supervisor meeting, whatever, staff recommends, or both.
But the joint meeting was canceled.
Yes, because the joint meeting was canceled. I wanted to do it, the joint meeting. but-
Through the chair, we could bring it to planning commission, for December meeting. Is there anything specific you wanted to add?
Yes, to acknowledge Chair Gibson for the amount of years that he's been chair, appointed chair.
Years of service.
I was
And-
thinking
and
a trip
years-
to Tahiti, but.
Yes, and a trip. But if we can also acknowledge him during the Board of Supervisors meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, the last one at least, because I know there's gonna be a new board coming in. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Toledo. Any commissioner announcements? I forgot about commissioner announcements before we adjourn. I think we're all itching. Nope. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a sec-
Okay,
is there a second?
second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.